This young man just got punched square in the mouth, but instead of being scared, he's grinning like a complete lunatic. This was 16. If that's the case, then this is bad. What's wrong with this guy? He's gone insane. Hi. Uksu looked at Tae Hun with a bit of caution, then started running his mouth again. You bastard. Are you asking for another punch? The moment Uksu finished his sentence, he ate another fist from Tae Hun. Tears fall, and the game begins. If this is 16 years ago, it means Tae Hun can awaken too. Kim Te Hun, a 35-year-old man who still worked as a porter for the Awakened. During one expedition, the party unfortunately ran into Asmodeus, an SSS-rank monster that wiped them all out, leaving Tae Hun as the sole survivor. Just as Tae Hun was about to be sent by Asmodeus to meet his ancestors, a being calling himself a king appeared. He stopped space and time, granted power to Tae Hun, and then shipped him back to the past. Not only that, but he returned right at the moment he was getting the crap beaten out of him by Uksu, a trash tier, Awakened, and his cronies. Seeing him get hit, Uksu's friends got fired up and charged at Tae Hun. They thought they'd easily take him down, like always, but they were wrong. This time, Tae Hun put them on the floor with just a few basic moves. For 35 years, he had lived as someone who couldn't awaken. Tae Hun had done everything he could, from daily physical training to learning all available information about the abyss and its monsters. With his knowledge of different skills and even real-world combat techniques, there was no way he would lose to these amateur thugs. This bunch didn't even know the first thing about fighting. Speaking of the abyss, its appearance had changed the entire world. This was a place where monsters that once only existed in novels had appeared. After the abyss was discovered, humans awakened extraordinary powers, and with that power, they defeated the monsters. They also explored the potential of the abyss. Thanks to that, a person's worth was no longer judged by their character or effort. Instead, it was based on their rank and awakened power. If someone had a high awakened rank, they would have a good life. For ordinary people like Tae Hun, who couldn't even open a status window at the age of 35, they could only accept a life of poverty, being despised and trampled on, becoming mere servants to the Awakened. But that was the story of his previous life. In this life, Tae Hun had awakened at the age of 19, and he would take full advantage of this chance to rise to the top. Back to the main events. While Tae Hun was feeling pleased with himself for teaching the bullies a lesson, Uksu had recovered from the unexpected punch. What? Awakened? Kim Te Hun? You're dead meat. With those words, Uksu activated his rock power. It was a body enhancement that made him tougher by forming rock on his skin. He then began to charge and relentlessly attack Tae Hun. Tae Hun relied on his quick reflexes to successfully dodge, then took the opportunity to counterattack Uksu. But he forgot one thing. His opponent's skin was incredibly hard. In the end, he took recoil damage and injured his arm. Before Tae Hun could even regret it, Uksu landed another punch that sent him flying back, crashing through a nearby wall. Haha. Even if you're going to pull tricks, you should know your place. You've come to your senses now, haven't you? You damn unawakened piece of scum from the bottom of society. What are you going to do now, huh? Keep running like you just did? Or are you going to flail around with those useless skills of yours? Hi, Uksu said smugly, slowly walking closer to Tae Hun. He glared down at him as if he were an insect. Tae Hun didn't answer and began to think deeply. All Awakened possess one skill and one rank. It starts from F rank, which is basically the same as a normal human. The highest is S rank, which includes individuals who fight in the territories of beings called monsters. The physical abilities and skills of an Awakened are exponentially greater than those of a normal person. But the F rank Predation skill he now possessed was a skill no one had ever seen or even heard of before. And on top of that, it was the lowest rank. Theoretically, Tae Hun didn't stand a single chance of winning against the C rank Uksu, but for some reason, he felt like he wouldn't lose to him. From the rubble, Tae Hun slowly got up, a dense, dark aura radiating from his body. This made Uksu start to feel a little uneasy. What the hell is that? It can't be. Did you really awaken? But you're just Kim Te Hun, a nobody from the bottom of society. Tae Hun was also surprised. He was shocked by the power surging through his body. Is this predation? I can feel magic flowing into my will. I don't know what's going on, but I just need to kill the user, and this will all be over. Hi, Uksu said confidently and charged in, trying to land a cheap shot on Tae Hun, but a simple lift of Tae Hun's hand completely blocked his attack. Then, the layer of rock on Uksu's skin slowly cracked and crumbled. Even he couldn't withstand the power from that single gesture and was thrown backward. He was knocked out cold. Tae Hun's system immediately announced that predation was complete. By hunting your prey, your rank has changed to E, and you have learned a skill. New skill. Stone Skin. After the party was over, Taeun took the bullied kids to the nurse's office. Since Toon was the only one conscious, while treating them, the school nurse asked him how they all got injured. Toon replied, "We fell down the stairs." Somehow, she didn't ask any more questions and let Toon go. Awesome. I've awakened, and I even got revenge on Bi-hyu. The problem is predation. Thinking of this, Toon fell into deep thought. My rank, something that takes a lifetime of training to change, increased after just one fight. It's only rank F, but it has the power to overwhelm even a rank C. I can steal the skills of those I defeat. Why would that person, the king, give me a power like this? Why did he send me back in time? There are countless questions, but in the end, there's only one thing I have to do. Learn about predation. Having sorted his thoughts, Taeun arrived at his uncle's house. After his parents passed away, he went to live with him. So for Taeun, his uncle's house was his own home. It's been a long time since I've been home. Uncle will be home late. Maybe I should look up information on similar skills? Taeun smiled happily, eagerly pushing open the door to enter the house. As soon as he entered, he saw Hwang-jung, his uncle's son, kneeling before three strangers. Hwang-jung, why aren't you at school? Taeun instinctively glanced at the overturned money box in front of him and immediately understood the situation, cursing angrily under his breath. Hwang-jung, that bastard. Before I regressed, I remember he always wanted to team up with other bullies. He stole all the money in the house and caused a huge mess. I didn't think it would be today, of all days. One of the three strangers saw Taeun and questioned Jejong. Who's this guy? Jejong stood up and whispered into the ear of the blonde guy, who appeared to be the leader. Whoa, I was wondering who that was. Turns out you're Jong's relative, huh? If you don't want to get beaten up, you'd better stay out of this. And pretend you don't know anything. We'll just take the money and leave. The blonde guy threatened as he slowly approached Taeun. Then he mockingly patted the boy's head and said, "You haven't awakened yet, have you?" After a moment of silence, Taeun replied with a sinister smile. "Perfect. I was looking to test it out." What? The moment the blonde guy finished speaking, he received a loving punch from Taeun. After knocking the blonde guy down, Taeun began to cast his predation skill, but instead, he received a notification. Predation function cannot be executed. What? Predation isn't activating. While Ten was still in shock, the blonde guy fought back. Then, he and his buddies used their skills in combination to ambush Taeun. Bind, poison, bleed. All three rank C skills were aimed directly at Taeun. A loud explosion erupted, kicking up a thick cloud of dust and smoke. Just as the blonde guy's crew thought Taeun had been vaporized, Taeun's system notification rang out. Skill usage has been detected. Bind, poison, and bleed have been confirmed. Due to a mysterious power, resistance is successful. First, it doesn't activate, and then it just nullifies skills at will. I don't know what's going on, but I'm sure it's powerful. Taeun emerged from the cloud of dust like a god. Then, quick as a flash, grabbed the blonde guy by the neck and slammed him to the ground. After finishing the job, Taeun looked down at the three delinquents lying unconscious on the floor and thought, I guess I've learned two things by now, huh? The status window is only visible to the pseudo-awakened. Status window, name, Kim Te Hun, age, 19, rank, E. Strength, 3, stamina, 6, speed, 5, mana, 10, debilitation, 71%, magic, 10 out of 10. Skills, Predation E, hunts the selected pseudo-awakened target, mana, 5, stone skin E, reinforces the body, mana, 1. Detailed information about the pseudo-awakened is recorded here, but while it's detailed, it's not everything. First of all, I've had more than enough mana to activate Predation, but it still wouldn't turn on. Skill, Predation E hunts the selected pseudo-awakened target, mana, 5. In other words, the description mentions mana, but to activate Predation, there must be other factors at play besides just mana. On top of that, the passive effect of the Predation skill isn't mentioned in the description either, the one that resists and nullifies skills. The ones related to abnormal statuses like poisoning or bleeding, well, I'll figure it out sooner or later. More importantly, Taeun let out a long sigh. Then he glanced at Jong, who was kneeling before him, and asked, "What are you doing?" Only then did Jong dare to look up. He cried and begged, "Hyung, after witnessing that side of you, I was so impressed. I, Hong Jong, your cousin, will self-reflect on my actions. Please, just forgive me this one time. Whether it's licking your shoes or barking like a dog, I'll do whatever you tell me to." To add sincerity to his words, Jong began to bark. With a look of disgust, Taeun cursed inwardly. What a pathetic bastard. I knew this guy was cunning back in the day, but I never thought he'd stoop this low. Well, there's no point in dealing with him now. Anyway, there's a more urgent matter that's going to happen today. Remembering something, Toon said, "All right, I'll let it slide." Jong looked up with an expectant face and asked, Really? Toon stated his condition. "You have to come with me to settle this matter." Hearing that, Jong curiously looked up at Toon. Night was falling. In a restricted area, 3 people stood before an energy cage that surrounded a rift gate. Monsters were continuously pouring out of the gate. A rift gate is a phenomenon where monsters appear when a rift suddenly opens up, a path leading to the abyss. If this isn't handled, it will lead to a dungeon disaster. The young man with glasses sighed softly as he looked at the rift gate. "It's been 10 years since I've seen a dungeon rift. The gate was created so suddenly, and monsters are pouring through to harm people." The long-haired girl spoke up. "Looking at these monsters, it's clear that if we do nothing, a dungeon disaster will happen soon." The red-haired girl asked worriedly, "Should we evacuate the nearby areas?" The young man with glasses replied confidently, "No need, because I have my B-rank barrier skill. Besides, this rift gate is only C-rank. That means the strongest monster to come through it will be a C-rank monster. In other words, even if an unexpected crisis occurs, suddenly, the barrier behind them was shattered by monsters." Seeing this, the 2 girls on the team cried out, "Captain!" The captain turned his head and swung his leg, kicking the monsters' heads clean off. Then he declared, "B-rankers like us are more than enough to handle this." At the same time, Ti-un and Jung had already set off, running toward the rift gate. On the way, Jung wouldn't stop nagging. "So isn't everything fine over there now? You said the control staff was already there, didn't you? So everything should be fine, right?" Toon, getting a headache, spoke up. "Be quiet. Enough with the whining. You're right. Based on the preliminary mana estimation, it's a C-rank rift gate. Furthermore, the responders are B-rank, so they shouldn't have any problem facing C-rank opponents." Jong exclaimed, "Right, that's exactly what I meant. But that's only if it's really times, a C-rank dungeon." These words from Toon made Jong, who was about to start nagging again, fall dead silent, his eyes widening in fear. At the rift gate, the captain sat down next to a monster's corpse, lost in thought. Strange. How could these low-level monsters tear right through my B-rank barrier? Could it be that the amount of mana leaking from here is higher than my rank? "Captain, something's inside the gate." Hearing the shout, the captain quickly turned to look. He saw a monster with a body far larger than the previous ones, emerging from the rift gate. The captain's eyes widened as he stared at the monster in disbelief. "What? That enormous monster? It's an A-rank giant astral bug." As soon as it appeared, it opened its mouth and let out a roar, shattering the B-rank barrier and releasing the horde of monsters to swarm out. The captain made no move at all. He just stood there, stunned, staring at the giant astral bug. "It's not C-rank, it's..." Before he could finish his sentence, a massive wave of energy engulfed the captain and his 2 team members. A loud explosion erupted, and smoke and fire immediately enveloped the entire containment zone around the rift gate. Elsewhere, Jung asked while running after Tun, "Hey, let's just say you're right, but this is ridiculous. How could you possibly know all of this? They didn't even issue an evacuation order because there was no sign of the monsters. Asterisk. Because I've already experienced this before. Asterisk, Tun thought to himself. Aloud, he replied, "Intuition. My intuition told me. You're lying. Don't tell me you're trying to fool me." Before Jung could finish his sentence, horrifying screams suddenly erupted in the distance. "Run. It's the rift gate. Help me." Jung turned his head to look back. When he saw a huge number of monsters chasing after civilians, he couldn't help but panic. Tiun, however, spoke calmly. "Remember what I told you to do? If you remember, then get going." Jung asked worriedly, "What about you?" "Me? I'll handle these bastards and catch up with you in a bit." As he spoke, Tiun activated his acceleration skill and walked toward the horde of monsters. Meanwhile, in a high-rise building, a man looked down worriedly at the chaotic streets below, then turned to speak to someone behind him. "The situation is deteriorating rapidly, just as you said. The rift gate that was supposed to be C-rank turned out to be A-rank. There are no reinforcements available because everyone else is busy conquering dungeons and exploring the abyss. Right now, the only way to resolve this crisis is with an A-rank awakened. You are our only hope. Please, help us." The Berserk Blade, Unhunsu. Hearing this, Unhunsu bit his lip. With tears streaming down his face, he declared, "Everyone, just hold on. The hero, Unhunsu, is on his way. He is the A-rank awakened, the Berserk Blade." Trait, Puberty Syndrome. While Toon was eliminating monsters, he was also continuously testing his predation skill. A moment later, Toon smiled and thought to himself, "Just as I thought. The predation skill fails due to the exhaustion level. If the exhaustion level exceeds 70%, it no longer works. Most skills are activated based on mana usage, but that doesn't mean mana is the only thing to worry about because of the exhaustion level. The exhaustion level increases when using a skill or engaging in physical activity, and the higher the exhaustion level, the weaker the skill becomes, and your body's movements will feel heavier. Unfortunately, there's a lot to keep track of. I've discovered that if I absorb the life force of a dead monster, I can recover my mana. It makes using skills much simpler then. Muttering to himself, Tun used his predation skill again. A system notification appeared. The target's life force has been absorbed. Digestion is complete, so mana can no longer be absorbed for recovery. You have successfully hunted your prey and restored your mana, Tun whispered with delight. And the good news was, a system notification. Your rank has changed to D. Predation from E rank to D. Stone skin from E rank to D. Tun grinned excitedly, thinking to himself, the more I use predation, the more I level up. At this rate, I can reach S rank or even SS rank. No, I might even become the first ever SSS ranker. Very quickly, the monsters here were completely wiped out by Tun. All done. Should I head back to Hoangda? Before he could finish his sentence, a loud crash erupted behind Tun. He turned around to see a giant A-rank python falling into a skyscraper. Then, Taeun saw Hyunsu appear in the air above the giant python. He raised his sword, which glowed with a golden light, preparing to strike down the monster. He roared, "You filthy monster! I will make you pay for the lives you have stolen. This warrior of justice, and Hyunsu, will pass judgment upon you." Hearing this, Taeun looked at Hyunsu with an expression that was 30% assessment and 70% contempt. The giant python, of course, wasn't just going to lie there and die. It reared up and swung its fist toward Hyunsu, but it was just a futile struggle. Hyunsu's full power slash was not something it could block. A pillar of golden light shot into the sky, and the giant python was defeated by Hyunsu. Watching the entire process, Tun marveled. He can easily take down an A-rank monster. He's definitely an A-rank awakened. The one who handled the dungeon break all by himself before I regressed. The Mad Sword. An Hyunsu. He's as strong as the rumors say. Just then, Hyunsu struck what he thought was a cool pose and spoke. "You foolish monster, you have just died by my sword of justice," Tun added in his mind. And he's just as dumb as the rumors say, too. But why isn't Hyunsu here? Before I regressed, I remember him having a bloody battle with a giant orc. On the other side of the city, Hyunsu stood on the giant python's body, clasping his hands in prayer. "You poor people, may you all rest in peace." He was about to say something else when he suddenly froze. System notification. Skill perception. The next second, Taeun watched in horror as someone suddenly appeared behind Hyunsu and plunged a sword through his chest. Hyunsu coughed up a mouthful of blood, startled as he turned around. He cried out, "What?" The mysterious person grinned and said, "Got you," and Hyunsu. At the same time, in a brightly lit room, Jong was standing with a frown, looking at Naeun, who had fallen asleep on the sofa, wondering, "Is this really okay? A lot of people are going to die tonight. One of them is our school nurse, Choi Naeun. She's going to die while focusing on helping people instead of evacuating. You can use your sleep skill to make people fall asleep, right? Then make Naeun fall asleep and evacuate her to a safe place. I'll take care of the rest." Recalling Tun's words, Jaejung wondered to himself, how could Tun Hyung know all of this? Or is there some logical reason for it, but there's no other explanation? A moment later, something occurred to Jaejung, and he exclaimed, "Could it be Tun Hyung? Did Hyung Nim awaken a skill that lets him see the future? No way. Seeing the future? That's amazing. It's insane. Absolutely insane." Back with Taeun, he was forcing a smile while cursing inwardly. Damn it, something's very wrong here. Hyunsu clutched his chest, demanding loudly, "Who are you? Spit it out." The mysterious person didn't answer, just grinned and said, "To think you're still alive, after being stabbed right in a vital spot. What a surprise. A-rankers really are different, aren't they? This just makes the hunt more interesting." Hyunsu didn't know who the mysterious person was, but Tun knew. This mysterious person was the B-rank villain, Han Sang-do, with his B-rank stealth skill. They call awakened who commit crimes villains, and among them, the B-rank villain Han Sang-do was a crazed murderer. During the dungeon break, when monsters were pouring out, he went around killing people for the thrill of it. Tun muttered in confusion, "But I'm sure I never met him before I regressed. Did the future change because of me? You bastard! You're a villain, and I will punish you with my own two hands." Hyunsu roared, charging at Sang-do with his weapon. But he had only taken a few steps when tremors started coming from beneath his feet. The giant python he had just defeated was rising once again. Hyunsu cried out in shock. What? A giant orc. Sangdo laughed wildly. Haha, what amazing recovery ability. That's an A-rank monster for you. Hyunsu had no choice but to ignore Sangdo and focus on fighting the giant orc. It's no use. I'll leave that monster bastard to an Hyunsu. With that, Sangdo flashed a bloodthirsty smile and turned to look at Taeyun, who wasn't far away. Well now, I didn't think I'd have an audience here. Haha, perfect. The more prey, the better. As he spoke, Sangdo lunged towards Taeyun. Die. Sangdo's blade slashed straight for Taeyun's neck, but was blocked by a layer of stone skin. Clang. Idiot. Taehyun smirked sarcastically as he kicked Sangdo in the face, sending him flying. Getting my ass kicked, 'cause I let my guard down. Sangdo cursed in anger. You bastard. So you were an awakened one all along. Taehyun cracked his shoulders and slowly walked towards Sangdo, B-rank villain, Han Sangdo. The lunatic who goes around killing people with his stealth skill. That's you, isn't it? What a stroke of luck, running into you here. As he spoke, Taehyun activated his stone skin skill on both hands and waved them at Sangdo, taunting him. The two clashed, and thanks to his stone skin, Taehyun was able to block Sangdo's slashes. For a moment, they were evenly matched, with neither side able to land a decisive blow. After a few exchanges, Sangdo suddenly backed away with a sinister smile. You're pretty strong. I guess that confidence isn't just for show. Who knew this sword would be useless against you? I don't know how much you know about me, but you must be thinking you can win just because my attacks aren't working, right? But listen here, kiddo. The world doesn't work the way you think it does. With that, Sangdo grinned, and his figure vanished right before Taehyun's eyes. Taehyun grew cautious, thinking to himself, stealth, so he's hiding? But he has to know that won't change a thing. Your attacks are still useless against me. Yelling, Taehyun spun around and threw a punch. Are you so sure about that? Sangdo's voice echoed in Taehyun's ear. His figure suddenly appeared behind Taehyun, swinging his sword down with full force. Taehyun was startled and quickly raised an arm to block. Only this time, it was different from all the previous blocks. A bleeding gash appeared on Taehyun's arm, leaving him stunned. Sangdo burst into maniacal laughter and began circling Taehyun at high speed, slashing relentlessly. Taehyun could only stand his ground, crossing his arms to endure the onslaught. Sangdo taunted. Do you have any idea how many awakened ones I've hunted? They're all a bunch of delusional fools who think their skills are invincible. I've found your weakness. Now you're just getting frustrated and want to run away, don't you? You should at least know this before you die. All skills have a weakness. After the barrage of attacks, Taehyun was covered in more wounds. He spat out a mouthful of blood, lamenting to himself. Who would have thought stone skin had a weakness like this? This skill doesn't completely block attacks. A strong hit shatters the stone, and the broken part is replaced by a new stone with weaker resistance. He was aiming for this weakness from the very beginning. But, just as I thought, I can definitely go toe-to-toe with him, even if he is a B-rank opponent. Because my physical skills aren't just D-rank. Taehyun grinned and suggested, shall we end this little test here? Sangdo asked, confused. What? Then he laughed loudly and charged at Taehyun. Have you gone mad from being cornered? Taehyun calmly asked, B-rank villain, Han Sangdo. Do you know why I wanted to find you? Haha, what the hell are you babbling about? Because I want to steal your skill. Answering bluntly, Taehyun unleashed his predation skill without holding back. Immediately, a terrible feeling washed over Sangdo. He stopped, thinking, what is this sinister feeling mana? Has this bastard been hiding his true power this whole time? But then, Sangdo thought of his own skill and regained his confidence, grinning once more as he rushed toward Taehyun again. Heh, you idiot. I don't know what this skill is, but do you really think you can hit me when you can't even see me? Taehyun activated his predation skill, creating a barrier that enveloped them both, and replied, didn't you just say that every skill has a weakness? I realized this after tearing a few monsters to shreds. Among those monsters, countless managed to escape my sight, but in the end, the predation skill devoured every last one of them. Simply put, no matter where you hide or where you run, predation will find you. As if to prove his words, several tentacles suddenly appeared inside the barrier, aiming precisely at the invisible Sangdo. What? Before he could even finish his cry, Sangdo was restrained by the tentacles. At that moment, Taehyun raised a hand and made a crushing gesture. Instantly, Sangdo's body was squeezed by the tentacles until he was ripped to shreds. On another battlefield, where the giant orc and Hyunsu were fighting, a large area had been reduced to ruins. Currently, a dying Hyunsu was lying on the ground, whispering, "Damn it. If that villain bastard hadn't sneak attacked me." The hero of justice. The undefeated warrior. Even for me, and Hyun-woo, death is not something to be taken lightly. Opposite him, the giant orc strode towards Hyun-woo, growling continuously. It raised its fist and brought it crashing down where he lay. But when the dust settled, the giant orc was shocked to find Hyun-soo gone from the crater. As it was trying to figure out what happened, Tae-hyun suddenly appeared a short distance away, carrying the unconscious Hyun-soo. "What the hell is this? How did you end up getting wiped out like this? On the ground? That monster really was strong. No wonder. Anyway, this is more convenient." With that, Tae-hyun used his predation skill again. He smiled at the giant brain as if it were a delicious meal. The rising sun signaled the start of a new day. At a house in a residential area, a middle-aged couple opened their door to find Tun and Jae-jung standing in front of them. With his hands behind his head, JJ laughed and said, "Dad, Mom, I'm home. Haha." Tun greeted them politely. "Sir, is everything all right?" Seeing that both of them were safe, the middle-aged couple burst into tears. "Oh my goodness, we were so worried you'd been taken by monsters." Jae-jung smiled and said, "It was nothing, right, Hyung?" Jae-jung's parents recounted, "You probably don't know since you haven't been home in a while, but our house is a mess, as if someone just wrecked it." Jae-jung said awkwardly, "Ah, no, it's nothing, right, Hyung?" Tun chuckled softly and replied, "I wouldn't know." The media had also begun to report on the Fisher Gate incident from last night. Breaking news. A massive Fisher Gate has appeared after 10 years. According to government directives, the warning regarding the Fisher Gate has now been completely lifted. Due to the possibility of another outbreak, the government has ordered nearby schools to be closed for a week, and news about the number of survivors is gradually being released. The public could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The camera cut to the first three-person team that had appeared at the Fisher Gate, who had luckily survived. They were currently being treated at a hospital. The team leader kept whispering, "It wasn't C rank, it was A rank." Next to him, a bewildered Neung told the police, "When I woke up, I was already here." As for Hu, he stood before a crowd of reporters and shouted, "To all the citizens, I was not the one who defeated the giant brain. The real hero is someone else." However, because the giant brain's corpse has not yet been found, and the whereabouts of the villain who attacked the citizens remain unknown, the public is very worried that the safety precautions may. Next up on the news. Turn off the phone. Tun smiled and looked up at the tunnel entrance before him, saying softly, "Good. Luckily, no one mentioned my name. All right. Time for the next phase then. Personal panel. Name Kim Te-hun, age 19, rank D, strength 15, stamina 20, mana 40, debilitation 5%, magic 40 out of 40. Skills. Predation rank D hunts a selected target, mana 10. Stone skin rank D reinforces the body, mana 3. Stealth rank D can conceal oneself, mana 5. So, I have 3 skills now. The stealth skill is a great gain, but at my current level, it's difficult to use all 3 skills. Using skills recklessly could deplete my mana instantly and increase my debilitation level. That would be a dangerous move, and the best countermeasure for this is potions, which can restore mana and vitality upon use. But potions are expensive, so I'll have to hunt to earn money, and to hunt, I need a legal license. In fact, even using skills without permission is already considered illegal. So, I only have one option left, to explore undiscovered dungeons. With a plan in mind, Tae-hyun stepped into the tunnel. After squeezing through a narrow, hidden crevice, a spacious area appeared before Tun. Countless pairs of crimson eyes immediately stared at Tun. It turned out this was a monster's den, led by 3 B-rank spider goblin sisters. The 3 spider goblin sisters exclaimed in shock, "How dare a human come here? How did you find us? Haha, let's paralyze him and have a feast." Tun looked at the 3 monsters and lamented, "B rank isn't high enough to change my rank. Do I have to absorb 100 of these things?" The 3 monsters, enraged by Tun, roared, "How dare you? You arrogant, lowly human, do you even know what situation you're in? We're going to eat you alive." They puffed out their mouths and simultaneously shot their paralysis skill at Tun, then laughed triumphantly. "Haha, how do you like that? Can you feel your body becoming immobile and gradually getting paralyzed? Without a hint of fear, and without making any move to dodge, Tae-hyun just stood his ground, smirked, and activated his predation skill. The system announced, "Successfully resisted a debuff." Just as I thought. You guys have a pretty useful skill. As soon as Tone finished speaking, he pushed his predation skill to its full power toward the monster horde. After that, Horrifying screams from the monsters echoed continuously through the tunnel. Before long, the screams gradually faded and finally stopped completely. The system announced, "You have successfully hunted. Successfully absorbed a new skill. Paralysis." At the same time, in the building of the New Korean Player Awakened Association, there were 3 people in a room, including the Deputy Director of Human Resources of the New Korean Awakened, Geguk, the Commander of the Night Mortals, and an S-rank player, Aeon, and the President of the New Korean Player Association, and also an S-rank player, Jingi. Standing before 2 S-rank players, Geguk felt the pressure and thought to himself, the 2 best. Awakened of the New Korean Player Association. A player, an awakened who is legally licensed to use skills. Their abilities for things like exploring the abyss, clearing dungeons, and so on. Currently, there are 5 of the strongest players in Korea. They mostly hold the balance of power among the awakened. The largest guilds among Korean players include the 4 great guilds, the Primal Warriors, the Alchemist Artisans, the Mages, the information providers and investigators known as the Nightwalkers, and the authorities that manage the players, including the New Korean Player Association. And right in front of me, Ah Young was smiling at Jinhui. "It's been a while, Mr. Chairman," Jinhui said. "Thank you for coming. I know you're busy. Have you found anything?" Ah Young's smile faded, and she asked with a serious gaze, "You mean the Vicious Demon Guild?" The Vicious Demon Guild, a criminal organization formed by the most wicked among villains. All its members wear a gold ring engraved with 3 skulls. Ah Young handed Jinhui a file and said, "These are the Vicious Demon Guild's recent movements, as well as a list of the players they're targeting. But I'm sure you didn't call me here just to personally hand over a document, did you? So, what is it?" Jinhui asked with a smile as he took the file. "Tisk, you're sharp. I wanted to ask for your opinion on this." Ah Young spoke up, curious. "My opinion? Miss Ah Young, when did you start conducting player evaluations?" Ah Young replied suspiciously. "Of course, when I turned 19. Suddenly, as if realizing something, Ah Young said, "Mr. Chairman, don't tell me." Jinhui smiled and asked, "Do you think a high school student could face a monster?" Back with Te Hun, his backpack was now filled with mana stones. He sat on a mountain of monster corpses, making a phone call. "Hello, is this one of the 4 great guilds, the alchemists?" "Ah, yes. The thing is, I'd like to buy some potions." Due to the gate incident, the school was closed for 7 days. Taking advantage of that time, Te Hun practiced clearing some dungeons, using monster core mana stones to create potions or equipment to trade with the Alchemist Guild. Besides that, his greatest achievement during these 7 days was successfully leveling up to a C-rank awakened. After the closure order ended, Te Hun returned to school. The rumor that he had defeated Bio Hyuk had now spread throughout the entire school. Most of the students were astonished, but quite a few were also worried for Te Hun, because the incident had escalated to a point where the S-rank awakened, Lee Dong-dae, would certainly not let it go. And as expected, on the very first morning the school reopened, Lee Dong-dae and his 2 lackeys came looking for Te Hun right in his classroom. A little about Lee Dong-dae. He's the 3rd-generation heir of the Tisan Corporation, the corporation that sponsors Tisan High, and he's the king of the bullies at Tisan. Furthermore, Lee Dong-dae was the one who ordered Bao Hyuk to bully Te Hun before he awakened. Right now, Lee Dong-dae was sitting across from Te Hun like he owned the place, opening with a greeting, "Long time no see, old friend." Hearing this, Te Hun cursed right back. "Who's friends with you? Shut your damn mouth. You son of a bitch. Do you know who you're talking to?" The lackey behind Dong-dae yelled and was about to charge forward to deal with Te Hun, but he was immediately socked in the face by Dong-dae. "Can't you see I'm talking?" Dong-dae warned his subordinate, then continued to speak to Te Hun with a smile. "Kim Te Hun, I'm sure you're feeling pretty pleased with yourself after defeating Bao Hyuk." However, Dong-dae then unleashed his power and stared at Te Hun menacingly. "But you should watch who you're standing in front of, don't you think? You'd better listen while I'm still being nice. This is the power of an S-rank awakened. Impressive, really. But you know what?" Te Hun thought to himself. "I'm curious to see how you'll act when you meet a real predator." His hand was just beginning to prepare a skill when a female voice suddenly cut in. "Lee Dong-dae, that's enough. Stop." Lim Ah Young said, slowly approaching Dong-dae and Te Hun. She used a skill to restrain the arm of Dong-dae's lackey, who tried to stop her, then glanced at Te Hun with a warning. "Kim Te Hun, you too. That's enough." Te Hun remained silent, but in his heart, he had already tacitly agreed. Lim Ah Young is the class president, a Cheeble heiress, the younger sister of the S-rank awakened Du Ah Young, a model student, the future #1 of a noble family, a future SS rank player with countless titles. and predicted. The problem is, she's very headstrong and doesn't back down easily. Just like right now, when Lee Dongdae was acting friendly as if he genuinely just wanted to talk with Tae Hun as a friend, she didn't hesitate to call him out. Friends? Then what about punching him in the face? Dongdae's fake smile vanished. His eyes blazed as he retorted, Lim Ah-young, watch that sassy mouth of yours. Got it? Ah-young didn't shy away from the confrontation. I will use force if you don't leave. Shut up and get lost. After the two glared at each other for about 5 seconds, Lee Dongdae sighed, waved his hand, and said, all right, let's stop here. I have no intention of fighting in this classroom. However, Dongdae then created a fireball and shouted, you think that's what I was going to say? Seeing this, Ah-young immediately gathered her energy to prepare for a fight. Just as the two were about to throw down, the bell rang, and then the school's broadcast an announcement from the media club. A special class will be held. A special class, hosted by the Player Association, will be held in the main hall. All students, please gather in the main hall immediately. A special class. The Player Association. Youngdu mumbled, then smirked at Taeyun and A-gang. Well, aren't you too lucky? With that, he turned and walked away. Are you okay? You don't have to thank me. A-gang slowly retracted her power and spoke to Taeyun, but by then, he was no longer sitting there. While A-gang was still bewildered, Taeyun, standing by the door, called out impatiently, what are you doing just standing there? Didn't you hear the announcement? Everyone's gathering in the main hall. I'm going on ahead. A-gang watched Taeyun leave, her eyes filled with suspicion. He had managed to move without her noticing at all. Has Taeyun always been like this? Before long, all the students had gathered in the main hall. While everyone was busy speculating about this special class, Taeguk stepped up to the podium to speak. My name is Go Taeguk. On behalf of the Player Association's management, I am here today for 2 reasons. First, to apologize for the association's delay in responding to the rift. And second, to announce a change that will affect the players among you, those who hold the future of the association. Whispers and murmurs began to spread through the crowd. A player test? What does that have to do with us? Don't you have to be 19 to qualify? That means we can't participate this year, either. Not wanting to keep the students in suspense, Taeguk quickly clarified. You might have thought so. But I'm here today to announce that, from this point forward, this will concern all of you. Due to the recent gate outbreaks, the number of monsters appearing in dungeons has suddenly skyrocketed. The Awakened Association has come to realize that we are facing a severe shortage of personnel. Therefore, through these trials, we will begin recruiting candidates, including high school students. High school candidates will be selected based on various factors, including their skills, evaluation scores, academic performance, and even their attitude. While the other students buzzed with excitement at this news, Taeyun, with the memories of a 35-year-old man, simply smirked, thinking to himself, what a load of lies. These selections are supposedly open to all students, but the screening process is already underway. It was happening through Taeguk's skill, Observer's Eye. Observer's Eye allows him to get a general overview of the abilities of any target he looks at. By focusing, he can even view a target's status window. Standing on the podium, Taeguk used Observer's Eye to scan the students as he spoke. He couldn't help but be impressed. The quality of the potential recruits here was far better than at the other locations. They had the potential to become excellent players. But the most surprising of them all, Taeguk's eyes landed on Youngdu. His stats were 1,924, and then A-gang with stats of 2,335. The HR department sent me a list of promising candidates, sure, but I never expected to find so many untrained, high-potential awakeners here. I need to write up a recommendation letter for the association as soon as I get back, Taeguk thought gleefully. Just then, Youngdu raised his hand to speak. Excuse me, Sir Awakener. You said you were here to announce the player selection trials, but aren't there people here who are completely unsuitable for these selections? What I mean is, these trials are only for those among the awakened who have the potential to become players. Isn't that right? In other words, I don't think the unawakened should have to listen to this difficult conversation. Youngdu shot a glance at Taeyun before continuing smugly. Power isn't the only thing that makes a great player. It's also about their awakening level, their ability to handle difficult situations, and their extensive knowledge of the abyss. To become a player, one must master a certain level of complex skills, but ultimately, only those who have awakened can ever hope to achieve such stats. For the unawakened, isn't this just rubbing salt in their wounds? They have nothing to be evaluated on. So, you went through all that trouble just to see if I've awakened or not? Taeyun thought. As if reading his mind, Youngdu raised an eyebrow in challenge. What about it? If you've awakened, then prove it. Hearing Yongdu, a few other students snickered and turned to look at Taeun. Only A-gang, who was standing at the front of the line, turned around in anger. She was about to yell at that bastard Yongdu, but then she remembered Taeun might find her annoying, so she turned away and ignored it. With no one objecting, Yongdu grew bolder and pressed his point with Taeguk. Therefore, I hope you will remove those unawakened bastards from this hall as soon as possible. This is no place for them, Taeguk replied amicably. I understand your point. However, whether to participate or not is up to each individual. Kim Te Hun, have you no shame? How can someone like you even be considered a candidate, or do you just not care about the Awakener trials? Yongdu continued his tirade. Standing on the podium, Taeguk inwardly scorned Yongdu's arrogant attitude. An S-rank player, and yet he's bullying someone weaker. How despicable. But it was this very attitude that made Taeguk curious about Taeun. Why would he pay so much attention to a relatively unknown, unawakened student? Was it simple anger and jealousy? Jealous of something? Let me see what that kid's potential is. Taeguk used his observer's eye to assess Tun and saw the results. The unidentifiable information shocked him so much he froze on the spot. As for Tun, he remained completely calm in the face of Dongdae's provocations. It's true that if you can't prove you're an awakened one, you can't even dream of entering this association's selection process. But you don't necessarily have to reveal your true strength just to get nominated. With this in mind, Taeun played along and replied to Dongdae, "You're right. I guess I was being too thoughtless. How could an unawakened person like me participate in this selection? I'm just here getting in you guys' way. So, I'll see myself out. As for you guys, you can lock yourselves in here and enjoy your wonderful little training session." Tun affectionately raised his middle finger as a farewell and turned to leave. Taeguk was still utterly dumbfounded. Because his observer's eye didn't work on Tun. This had never happened before. Not even the chairman or Du Ion had ever been an exception. So why didn't it work on this kid, Tun? As if reading Taeguk's mind, before stepping through the door to leave the main hall, Tun stopped, looked at him, and flashed a devilish smile. Instantly, Taeguk's observer's eye displayed Tun's stats an unbelievable number, 1096. After leaving the hall, Tun went to the library to find more information, but it wasn't long before Dongdae's lackeys came looking for him. Dongdae is looking for you. Come with us. And if I don't? Tun replied, with a smirk. Your mom owns a restaurant, doesn't she? This question put Taeun on high alert. Seeing this, the guy let his mouth run wild. Dongdae sends a message. You pathetic bastard son, do you want to make your mother suffer even more? Isn't she suffering enough already? But don't you worry. We're going to drag you to Dongdae one way or another. Asterisk, crash, bang, boom, asterisk. The once peaceful library suddenly turned into a battlefield with broken furniture strewn everywhere. Tun grabbed one of Dongdae's lackeys lying on the floor, hoisted him up, and said, Don't make me ask twice. Where is he? A short while later, Tun arrived at the room, the physical training room, the location where Dongdae had arranged to meet. As soon as he saw Tun, Sun Hondo, an A-rank player, and also Dongdae's defender, immediately used a skill, then reported to Dongdae. This is unexpected. What do you think? After that kid got here, I cast several skills that cause adverse effects, but none of them worked. With this level of status resistance, he must be at least A-rank. Hearing the answer, Dongdae laughed with delight and said to Tun, just as I expected. You're an awakened one too. In that case, shouldn't we have a little chat? My words might have been a bit rude, but I have no intention of fighting you. In fact, I want to recruit you to work under me. I plan on establishing a guild after graduation, under my name as the heir to the Taeson group. But even if I am a genius, I can't do everything by myself. You know what I mean, right? Not with talentless people like that fool Boshu, but with truly talented people like you. Kim Tun, forget the hatred. And come work for me. You'll have both money and fame. I'll make your family rich. Tun cut off. Dongdae's pathetic speech. You talk too much crap. Recruitment, money, and fame? Dongdae, you've crossed the line. As he spoke, Tun used his Rada skill, a clear declaration of war against Dongdae. Dongdae let out a sigh of regret. Oh, you're right. Immediately after, he also unleashed his power and declared, just as I thought, a stray dog needs to be taught a lesson. Seeing this, Sun Hondo immediately created a barrier that enveloped the entire court. This was a skill that covered the space with magic. People outside couldn't sense the magic within it. Once it was done, he said, with this, no one will be able to interfere with the young master's battle. Right after that, Dongdae ferociously charged and attacked Tun like a storm. But it seemed the Rada skill didn't have much effect on Dongdae. Just a few of his punches made Tun cough up blood. "Ha. Do you see the difference between us now?" Dongdae shouted triumphantly and continued to enthusiastically give Tun a beating. Hondo, watching from the side, secretly felt it was a pity for Tun. Kim Tun, he has a high-level body enhancement skill and is also an A rank awakened, with his combat skills and willpower far surpassing the other students. Hardly anyone in this school is his match. But today, his opponent is a genius, so there's no way he can win this fight. You'd be better off giving up and surrendering. Just then, Hondo couldn't hide his astonishment, his eyes widening at what was happening before him. The tide of battle had turned. Tun was shifting from a disadvantageous position to a counterattack, gaining the upper hand. After taking such a beating, he finally returned the favor to Dongdae with a direct punch to his face. "Impossible! The young master is losing a one-on-one fight?" Hondo couldn't hide his shock and exclaimed. Dongdae was now curled up in a heap on the floor, screaming nonstop. "You bastard! Kim Tun, what did you do? Why can't I move my body?" Hondo was even more shocked to hear that. He couldn't move. Isn't body enhancement the only skill Kim Te Hun has? What kind of monster is he? "It's finally working," Te Hun said smugly. Te Hun had obtained a total of 3 skills from Predation: Stone Skin, Stealth, and Paralysis. He didn't use all of his skills from the beginning. A C-rank paralysis wouldn't easily overcome an S-rank resistance, and Stealth is useless against ranged attacks. Predation was a last resort and shouldn't be used so openly, so Taehun's goal was to wait for an opportunity to use paralysis during close combat. Status effect skills are more effective with direct contact than from a distance, so with the damage and paralysis effect being applied continuously with each punch, even in you have been paralyzed. You have completely resisted it. You have been paralyzed. You have completely resisted it. Lee Dongdae's system kept repeating this notification until it changed to, "You have failed to resist paralysis." At that moment, Dongdae was completely immobilized, left at Kim Te Hun is a genius too. In a one-on-one fight, he even surpassed the young master. But the battle. Hondo looked hesitantly at Dongdae. Dongdae suddenly burst out laughing and said, "I acknowledge your strength, Kim Te Hun. I guess I underestimated you. If that weren't the case, there's no way I'd lose to a failure like you. So from now on, let's fight seriously." As he finished speaking, he pulled a small stone from his pocket and crushed it. Immediately, a giant skeleton engulfed in hellfire appeared behind Dongdae and gradually merged with him. As soon as the enhancement process was complete, Dongdae launched an attack at Te Hun. Te Hun managed to jump high to dodge, then counterattacked with his stone skin skill. But to Dongdae, the attack was like a mosquito biting steel. The moment his hand touched that entity, the layer of stone on it shattered. He was then thrown a long way back by a massive force. That's the true form of the young master's skill. Normally, it's very difficult to use the full power of the young master's Inferno Heart. With S-rank power and a high-level skill, it needs a boost. Just now, the young master used an amplifying magic stone, created by refining a magic core. As a monster's core, it temporarily amplifies the mana in the user's body. With that support stone, the young master can now fully utilize his S-rank power. The problem is, Hondo thought to himself, then worriedly shouted, "Young master, you should stop. Are you trying to kill him? Besides, that's too much magic for your body to handle. Your blood vessels will burst from the uncontrollable, rampaging magic." A fire arrow shot straight towards Hondo. "Shut up. How dare a mere guard like you give me orders? This loser insulted me, and you want me to spare him?" Dongdae turned to look at Te Hun, launching an attack with all his might while screaming frantically, "Die, die, you bastard, Kim Te Hun. This is bad. Just as I thought, the young master is losing control. His mind is in chaos. How is he going to get out of this berserk state?" Hondo rushed to the crater created by Dongdae's punch, anxiously holding out his hand and urging, "Kim Te Hun, are you still alive? Give up and run now. I'll stop the young master, so hurry." Immediately after, he was greeted with a punch from Te Hun. "Run? What nonsense are you spouting? You're telling me that after you people started this fight? This isn't surprising. I admit that S-rankers are strong, so, from now on, I'll be serious." As he finished speaking, Te Hun chugged a few potions. Instantly, his health and mana were restored. At the same time, he activated his Predation skill, ready to show Dongdae a real party. Elsewhere, at the headquarters of the New Korean Player Association, Jin couldn't help but be astonished after hearing Go Taegu's report. 1,900, 2,300. Yes, Lee Dongdae is 1,900. And Lim Arang is 2,300. Without a doubt, both of them are S-rank awakeners. The other staff members were just as shocked and began to whisper among themselves. Even for an S rank, an untrained person with a power level of 1,900, that's clearly the level of an A rank player. Does that mean he's on the same level as the Saintess of Japan? Jin laughed heartily. Finally, we have a player on par with the Saintess of Japan. The Saintess? Taegu thought to himself. The Saintess, the leader of the players in Japan. A monster whose stats surpassed 2,500 when she first appeared at the age of 19, she stunned the entire awakened world. That's right, even that monster only just surpassed 2,500. How can she compare to his stats when he's only just started to awaken? Remembering Te Hun and his initial stat of 5, Taegu shuddered and began to doubt himself. Was it a hallucination, or was the measurement wrong? In any case, I have to check it myself. Returning to our protagonist, Dongdae was now being devoured by Tae Hun's predation skill. As he struggled, he refused to accept it, screaming endlessly. How? How could this be happening? How could I lose to a failure like you? Kim Te Hun, I'm the heir to the Taeson Corporation. I'm an S rank. You bastard, you have to die. I am Lee Dong-jin. I don't care if you're an heir or what rank you are, because this is the power of a king. With that, Tae Hun amplified his predator power. A cataclysmic explosion erupted in an instant, engulfing the entire field in a sea of flames. Now, this is a surprise. Tae Hun looked at Seon Hongdo with great interest. A moment ago, it was he who risked his life to rush in and save Dongjin, while he was being dragged in by the predator's skill. If not for that, that Dongjin guy would have already bought a one-way ticket to meet his ancestors. Thank goodness the young master is safe. Hongdu let out a sigh of relief, then timidly asked Tae Hyun, "What are you planning to do? Our young master is the heir to the Taeson Corporation. How do you intend to handle this?" Hey, who was the one who started this fight? Let's be reasonable here. Besides, do I look like someone who gets scared by those kinds of threats? Don't worry, I have no intention of killing him. But in exchange, you should pay a price for this. Forgiveness. Hongdu was baffled by this. A price? Let's see. Tae Hyun mused. He's the heir of the Taeson Corporation, after all. Tae Hyun stroked his chin thoughtfully and then made a suggestion. Shouldn't I receive 1 billion in compensation? Outside, the loud noise and tremors from the explosion caught everyone's attention, and they immediately rushed out to the field to check on the situation. Seeing the gym on fire and rubble scattered everywhere, the students began to panic. What's going on? Was it a monster attack? No, that's not it. Lim Ah-gang silently denied it. This terrifying mana and these flames. This is definitely Lee Dongjin's power. But who is he with? Could it be? In her mind, Ah-gang pictured an image of Tae Hyun being tortured by Dongjin. Everyone, step back. In any case, just stay put right here. Don't go in. It's dangerous. While Choi Neum was instructing the students, Lim Ah-gang zipped past her like a gust of wind and dashed straight into the gym. I was wrong. I should have never let those two be in the gym alone. This is all my fault. Kim, Tae Hyun, please. You have to survive. With her heart racing in panic, Lim Ah-gang rushed into the flames. However, what she witnessed was the complete opposite of what she had imagined. Tae Hyun was standing there, looking completely unfazed, while Lee Dongjin was lying motionless on the floor, covered in wounds. While Ah-gang was still stunned, Tae Hyun spoke up to ask for a favor. Perfect timing. I need a witness. No, wait. I need someone to help carry him. Could you carry him to the nurse's office? No, actually, the hospital? Thanks. Ah-gang finally snapped out of it and rushed over to support Dongjin, then turned to confront Tae Hyun. How did things turn out like this? Tae Hyun just shrugged and said, "How should I know? When I came in, I just found him collapsed here. Looks like he fell down the stairs or something." Fell down the stairs? Ah-gang looked doubtfully at Dongjin's near-dead condition. Tae Hyun pretended not to notice and continued his request. Anyway, I really don't know what happened, okay? So wherever you go, don't mention you saw me here. Well then, I'm off. And with that, Tae Hyun vanished without a trace, leaving Ah-gang behind with Dongjin. Only after reaching a spot quite far from the school did Tae Hyun finally let out a sigh of relief. Perfect. Lim Ah-gang is there to handle that Lee Dongjin guy. Now, all I have to do is wait and see how the Taeson Corporation reacts. If nothing happens, then this whole incident is settled. With that thought, Tae Hyun opened his status window to check it. By defeating Lee Dongjin, he had acquired a new skill, but it was not one he had anticipated. Monarch's 5-Heart Charm, rank C, increases party members' mana stat by 10, charismatic aura. Like a celebrity? Why did I get something like this from hunting Lee Dongjin? I don't get it. Moreover, instead of absorbing his Heart of Flames' skill, I got the Monarch's Heart skill that boosts party members' stats. That Lee Dong-jin guy had a skill like this? But still, this is good. A skill that affects all party members is rare, regardless of its rank. It can be used with various other skills and combined with any skill I want. That makes the Monarch's Heart skill much better. This is even better than I thought. After taking stock of his spoils, Te Hun was about to head home to rest when he was blocked by a convoy of cars. "We've found him, student Kim Te Hun." Go Taeguk stepped out of the car, radiating a dangerous aura. With a cold expression, he said, "I have many things to ask you. Let's start with this. What were you just doing in the gymnasium?" Tae Hyun's mind started racing. Why is Go Taeguk here? Is he talking about what just happened in the gym? Or the incident in the lecture hall? Which one is he talking about? Go Taeguk from the Awakened Association. The chance to speak directly with this guy is extremely rare. But what if he knows I was the one who caused the trouble and is starting to make his move? I have to test the waters. With this in mind, Tae Hyun decided to probe him. If you mean the gym, are you referring to the explosion? Explosion? Go Taeguk thought for a moment, then glanced towards the smoke rising from the school. You mean that fire over there? That's not a problem. Other agencies will handle that. It seems I still haven't received your answer. What did you do in the gymnasium? So he doesn't know about the explosion? With that realization, a cocky smile spread across Tae Hyun's face. Right. I figured you'd already know. You people came looking for me because you want me to join the military enlistment, didn't you? Hit right where it hurt. Taeguk laughed awkwardly and replied, Military enlistment? How can you be so bold? What are you talking about? Is this still not enough? Tae Hun said, as he unleashed his power, intentionally revealing his ability once more. Only this time, it wasn't just Taeguk. Even the men with him could feel that immense power. Furthermore, the reading on Taeguk's observation skill was no longer 1,996, but had skyrocketed to 5,214. This terrified him. He couldn't believe it. He's even stronger than before. So the number I saw earlier wasn't a fluke or a mistake. Kim Te Hun, who are you really? In another scene, Lee Yong-soo, an S-rank player and the chairman of Taezon Group, asked Hondo after hearing his full report. So, to summarize, the only son of the family was injured, and the 1 billion in compensation is the price to be paid. You want me to handle this matter as quietly as possible? Hondo knelt on the floor, trembling as he replied, It's my fault. Whatever you say, I will. Lee Yong-soo cut him off. Do as he wishes. Yes, sir. Ha ha, what a cunning little brat. Very interesting. But we'll have to compensate him at a price equal to what he's done, won't we? With that, Lee Yong-soo snapped his fingers, and two mysterious dark figures appeared. Seeing them, Hondo panicked and tried to intervene. Mr. Chairman, the opponent is still young. This is too cruel. Shut your mouth. I have no interest in hearing a dog bark. Back to our main character. As soon as he got home, Tae Hun threw himself into working out at the gym, his goal being to train his body in preparation for the military enlistment. JJ, hearing the news, burst through the door, his face a mask of utter shock, as he screamed, Military enlistment? You're saying you're going to enlist? Yeah, in a month. After his brain finally caught up, JJ dropped to his knees and bowed to Tae Hun. As expected, Tae Hun Hyung truly is the God Emperor of Cheongmuro. Tae Hun didn't even bother to react, his mind already occupied with other thoughts. Taeson Group definitely won't let this go. Go Taeguk is less suspicious of me now. There's just one more guy left. So during this time, I just need to focus on training. That should solve everything. Just then, he received a call from that person. Outside, the Black and White brothers, two B-rank assassins renowned for their stealth skills, sent by Lee Yong-soo, had already tracked Tae Hun to his home. Why is an Awakened from the association protecting this house? What a pain, Little White said, as he restrained the association's Awakened. He's probably one of the participants in this upcoming enlistment. They're very interested in promising prospects. Big Black replied while scouting the surroundings. Hearing his brother's words, Little White burst out laughing. A promising prospect? Even so, that kid is just a brat, with no real-world experience, right? Haha, that's right. Talent without experience is just useless. Let's show everyone what a real Awakened is like, Big Black said with relish, turning to look at Little White, only to see him getting pummeled relentlessly by a strange young man, who then grabbed him by the neck and dragged his entire body out onto the balcony. You bastard! Who the hell are you? Big Black roared in fury and charged in to save his brother. Tae Hun let Little White fall freely, while also landing a solid punch on Big Black as he approached. I'm just a newbie with no experience. Flashing back a few hours, Tae Hun knew that demanding such a massive, astronomical sum of money from Tyson Group wouldn't be easy, and it wasn't something Soon Hondo could handle alone, so he didn't make things difficult for him. He only asked him to do his best to negotiate, and, at the same time, asked him to do two things, after making an Awaken's promise. A contract created by Awakened, using magic. In case of a breach, a random, permanent penalty will be imposed. Only then did Tae Hun feel safe enough to state his conditions to Hondo. First, try to handle the aftermath at the gym, along with the 1 billion won in compensation we discussed earlier. Second, you must warn me before any act of retaliation. The situation at the gym was handled almost immediately. The media simultaneously reported that the fire at Tyson High School's gym was discovered to be caused by a gas explosion and that there were no victims. As for the second part of the agreement, as soon as he found out Old Man Yong-soo had sent people to eliminate Tae Hun, Hondo secretly called to inform him of the situation and provided information on the two assassins. Back to the present. Big Black, furious after getting hit because he'd underestimated his opponent, drew his weapon and charged at Tae Hun with lightning speed. But no matter what he tried, his weapon couldn't even touch a single hair on Tae Hun's head. After dodging for a while, Tae Hun began to counterattack. He swung his arm to grab Big Black but failed. Big Black used his stealth skill and vanished right before Tae Hun's eyes. He then circled behind him and unleashed a full power strike right where Tae Hun was standing. He thought Tae Hun was done for after that blow, but suddenly, his voice rang out. The Black and White brothers. I heard your special ability is stealth. Just as I thought. It's nothing special at all. In the end, besides that, what can you guys possibly do now that you've revealed yourselves? As he finished speaking, Tae Hun kicked the big guy in the back, sending him crashing to the floor. Elsewhere, Do Ah-in called Chairman Jinwi to inquire about the recruitment selection for the new recruits. This time, it will probably attract Awakened from all over the country. Who do you expect will take first place? Busan's S-rank, Shin Yun-bok. Haha, as if that would ever happen. That kid is outstanding, but when it comes to the most anticipated person, who else could it be but your guy? Do Ah-in replied humbly. What? He's not at that level yet. Haha. You're as strict as ever, aren't you? So, who are you most looking forward to? Shin Yun-bok? Yes. In answered honestly, until I heard something very interesting. Hearing this, Jin couldn't help but be curious. Something interesting? Besides the S-ranks, there's one person that Mr. Taeguk himself had to go and speak to personally. Manager Taeguk, aren't you curious? Who on earth is this person that made Go Taeguk himself step in to talk? Back to Tae Hun. After his predation skill failed on the Black and White brothers, he looked at them, then stared down at his own predation hand. He was completely baffled. Why did that happen? It wasn't until he checked the system that Tae Hun realized the cause was his own lack of stamina. Due to being overloaded, the predation skill was temporarily inactive. He was totally freaking out. He thought of ways to increase his stamina, but every method required his gluttony skill. Damn it, this really backed him into a corner. The next day, ignoring his brother JJ's advice, Tae Hun was determined to go train at the Breakhead Training Center. The busty manager, Yura, was momentarily taken aback when she saw the two scrawny brothers, Tae Hun and JJ. But her bewilderment vanished like the wind when he pulled out the super VIP black card of the Alchemist Guild. Why would a kid have the card of a high-ranking, Awakened? Or was he one himself? Letting him in would definitely cause some problems. What should I do? Seeing Yura's dilemma, the strongest member, the six-packed Kang Chun, appeared to save the day. He was the mighty Kang Chun, a member of Breakhead and an assassin with the muscle amplification skill. Tae Hun had been around for a while, but this was the first time he'd ever heard such a lame name. A few people nearby who witnessed Kang Chun showing off in front of the new guy began to whisper among themselves. It looked like he was about to try and boss around the newbie again. Haha, are you trembling just from hearing my name? If you guys leave now, I'll let it slide. What are you talking about, you weakling? Cool as a cucumber, Tae Hun nonchalantly challenged Kang Chun, enraging him. Without a shred of fear, he proposed a bet. The loser would have to pay for a year's worth of membership fees. Provoked by Tae Hun, Kang Chun's blood boiled, and he immediately agreed. In a flash, they both entered the virtual system, preparing to fight in front of many drama-hungry eyes. This was the virtual PORTER training system. It was a virtual reality, similar to Abyss, a training course that required players to eliminate B-rank monsters and reach the destination in the shortest time possible, all while carrying a maximum weight load. Everyone felt that Tae Hun was at a clear disadvantage against Kang Chun. That oaf Kang Chun was now pumped up like he was on steroids, relentlessly swinging his arms and slaughtering monsters in the system. He fought while screaming Te Hun's name, hitting his mark every time, and the amount of weight he could lift was absolutely insane. As he was laughing his head off, Te Hun suddenly tore past him from a distance like the wind, leaving countless monster corpses scattered along the path, which left Kang Chun slightly stunned. Using his own unique techniques, with just a few basic moves, he had smashed that pile of monsters to bits. Kang Chun's jaw dropped as he witnessed Te Hun's feet, sweat pouring down like rain as the ground shattered around them. All that was left was Kang Chun, staring wide-eyed at Te Hun carrying a mountain of loot piled sky-high on his back. He flashed a victorious smile, demanding that Kang Chun pay up and get lost. Soon after, the day everyone had been waiting for arrived. It was the test day for the Awakened. The stadium was packed to the brim with people. The Awakened Association had changed the test this time, allowing minors to participate as well. Besides the spectators, there were also indispensable figures in this battle. The Steel Fist, undefeated in close combat, A-rank Hong Deok-gu. The monk with outstanding combat abilities, someone even an S-rank would have a hard time beating, A-rank Lee San. The Thunder Lord, unrivaled in Busan, S-rank Shim Jun-sok. The rising star of the Saintus class, S-rank Im Ah-young. Many talented individuals had registered for the competition. Everyone was pushing and shoving so much that the E-rank reporter, Miss Kim, couldn't squeeze through to get a story and just sat on the ground. Just then, Te Hun appeared, looking cool as hell and chuckling at the jam-packed scene before him. There was 1 minute left until the test began. Te Hun felt he should build up his image first. Squeezing through the massive crowd, Ah Young recognized Te Hun was also present. She was utterly shocked. I heard he had awakened, but how could he have changed so much in just 1 month? She wondered in confusion. Before she could ask her questions, the loudspeaker announced the official start of the competition. With the introductions over, the rules of the test were announced. Look at the number on your chest. That is your contestant number for this competition. The requirement for this round is to collect 5 contestant numbers, including your own. Losing your contestant number means you are eliminated. This is a battle for those numbers. The time limit for this round is only 1 hour, and you're allowed to use any skill except for killing. Before the MC could even finish speaking, the ground beneath the contestants' feet began to shake and split apart violently. The first round officially began in chaos. Seeing a Jiang, a woman all on her own, a group of men targeted her, rushing in to steal her number. But what a bunch of fools. She threw a single punch, and in a flash, they were all knocked down like bowling pins. The judges, observing through the glass, noted that her skills were excellent, truly worthy of her goddess-level status. The other contestants were formidable as well. This batch was far superior to any before. Among them, the one to really watch out for is the C-rank from Busan, Shin Yun-bok. A judge commented while observing the situation. 20 minutes had passed since the first round began, but no one had been able to even get close to Shin Yun-bok. Generally speaking, he and A Jiang were the 2 most outstanding contestants in the eyes of the judges so far. Only Taeguk was paying attention to Te Hun. He was certain that someone like him would easily pass this test. But less than a second later, Taeguk was shocked to see him being blocked by an Awakened, yet just standing there, taking the hits. He wasn't even fighting back. Taeguk was incredibly disappointed. He silently blamed himself, wondering, did I overestimate him? In reality, Te Hun was using his stone skin skill to deal with the iron skin of the A-rank Awakened, Hong Dong-guk. Stone skin is a low compatibility version of iron skin. Te Hun deliberately misled his opponent, then launched a surprise attack. It was a complete reversal of fortune for his opponent. After a month of training, the traces of gluttony still remained on Te Hun. Although his abilities still had many flaws, he had improved them through training, pushing his body's endurance to its absolute limit. In a battle that nearly pushed him to his breaking point, he unleashed an all-out attack, leaving the A-rank before him knocked out cold at his feet. C-rank Te Hun had successfully obtained contestant number 2. On the other side, Taeguk was ecstatic for him. To train like that in a large-scale survival battle. Kim Te Hun. That audacity is incredible. But now came the problem. His power level was heavily depleted after that last fight. Right now, the best thing to do would be to conserve his energy and collect numbers from weaker people. Taeguk calculated in his head for Te Hun. Unexpectedly, contrary to his predictions, Te Hun went looking for the C-rank Awakened, Shin Yun-bok himself. He looked even more arrogant than before. Yun-bok's lightning strike let out a sky-shattering boom that shocked everyone watching. Te Hun nimbly dodged, then suddenly rushed in to land a kick, but he quickly realized his opponent was no pushover. Both of them were incredibly fast, neither giving an inch. The S-rank from Busan, the god of thunder, Shin Yun-bok. I never thought he'd be this much trouble. His entire body is surrounded by lightning. It not only blocks all attacks, but also has destructive power, and can discharge electricity at any range, near or far. How am I supposed to break through it when I still can't use gluttony? Facing his opponent's relentless storm of attacks, Te Hun hesitated for a moment. Yunbok charged forward arrogantly. He sent a jolt of lightning through him. He looked ecstatic as he watched Te Hun stumble back and turn to run. He chased him relentlessly, gleefully firing continuous bolts of lightning at him. Seeing Te Hun scream in pain was immensely satisfying. It hurts like hell. He fought back in a rage, but it was useless. Yunbok danced around a bit and completely turned the tables. The force of his attacks was overwhelmingly fierce, leaving Te Hun with basically no strength left to defend himself. Up until this point, almost everyone has just run away from me. I thought only A Jiang would make things interesting for me in this awakened test, but I didn't expect to find another fun toy right here. Yunbok thought to himself as he gathered all his strength, taking aim at Te Hun with delight and firing. Suddenly, a rock flew like a missile and smashed right into his face, drawing blood. Stunned, he stopped his attack. He was in disbelief. There was no way an attack from Te Hun could stagger him like this. At that moment, Te Hun was gritting his teeth, hurling massive rocks that sent Yunbok reeling. It's true that the stone skin skill can't overcome the wrath of the god of thunder. Forget about overcoming it. Even if you pushed its output to the absolute limit, it would just be crushed and disappear on contact. But here, in the awakened arena, everything is different. This time, Shin Yunbok's luck had run out. He spat blood and collapsed violently to the ground, to the horror of everyone watching. The witnesses cried out, "I can't believe an S-rank awakened lost to a C-rank. That kid is pretty damn good after all. He really knows how to keep people on the edge of their seats." Te Hun had now collected all the entry numbers he needed. All that was left was to wait for the competition to end. But just then, a shard of ice shot out from nowhere, whizzing straight for his leg in a relentless assault. Following that, countless streams of icy energy coiled into torrents, enveloping his entire body. Advancing step by step from a distance was none other than A Jiang, her face cold and arrogant, which greatly surprised Te Hun. How did A Jiang know I was here, and how long has she been watching the fight? He wondered in confusion. I believe that ability should come with responsibility. Having ability, but lacking responsibility? Or that's just violence. Te Hun, you are truly strong. You defeated Shin Yunbok in a way no one could have imagined. You took down Li Yongdae the same way, didn't you? She suddenly unleashed her fury, her hate-filled eyes fixed on him as she attacked. Roiling waves of ice crashed down with such terrifying destruction that he couldn't even dodge in time. Using your stealth now would be useless. A Jiang attacked relentlessly, cursing him with every blow. Back in the arena, I actually trusted you. You told me you were different from scum like Li Yongdae. You also said you wouldn't act selfishly for personal gain, didn't you? But when I saw how you fought, I understood. In the end, Li Yongdae, and even Bikhuisu, it was all your doing. At her command, sharp blocks of ice shot up from the ground, impaling his body and sending blood flying. The very earth seemed to crumble under the terrifying force of A Jiang's power. Seeing him collapse, she demanded that he withdraw from this awakened competition. If you don't, I will expose all of your skills. Who the hell do you think you are? You couldn't even stop Li Yongdae's tyranny. Ability, responsibility, qualifications? In the end, all you wanted to do was take me down. In that case, it'd be much better to just use this survival test as an excuse. Stop acting so pathetic. Te Hun trembled as he stood up, a smirk playing on his lips as he spoke. If that's what you think, then A Jiang, you have nothing left to say. With all her fury, she swung her hand, creating a scepter. I'll finish you with this. Because Te Hun's stone skin had already been shattered hundreds of times, it had lost its original function. Even if he used his stealth technique now, it would be quickly neutralized by her wide-area attacks. The heart of the Emperor had increased his ability stats and was currently active, but it still wasn't enough to turn the tide. Gluttony was still sealed. Te Hun didn't have enough stamina left to induce paralysis like he did in the fight against Li Yongdae. Right now, aside from that one method, there was nothing else he could do. With that thought, Te Hun charged forward to face A Jiang head-on. An earthquake followed, and a thick fog enveloped the area, leaving no one aware of the outcome. When the fog finally cleared, everyone stared wide-eyed at the sight of Te Hun, pinning A Jiang to the ground. She, too, was in a helpless panic, completely bewildered. In that desperate moment, the thing Te Hun was aiming for was a kiss. No, that's not right. It was the paralysis technique. The success rate of the skill is much higher when used at close range compared to a distance. That was why he mixed the paralytic agent into his own blood to force Ajiang to ingest it. And of course, considering the resistance of an S-rank awakened, this was like an all-or-nothing gamble. The result? Was it luck? She was truly paralyzed. In the end, Te Hun had succeeded. Overjoyed, he reached up to wipe the blood from his mouth and slowly got to his feet. Just then, the time for the first exam ran out. After the first exam concluded, all injured contestants were immediately treated by the medical team. Although Ajiang was paralyzed, she still passed the first round because her entry number wasn't stolen and she wasn't considered incapacitated. As for Te Hun, he only managed to steal 7 entry numbers, but defeating Shin Yunbok and Ajiang had caught the attention of many other contestants. They all whispered behind his back, buzzing with admiration. While he was lost in thought, Shin Yunbok suddenly came charging towards him, screaming. He was still wearing his medical uniform, vowing to get revenge for his earlier defeat. Seeing a fight about to break out, the crowd grew ecstatic. Shin Yunbok, kill that Te Hun guy. Distracted by the noise, a furious Shin Yunbok turned and fired a blast at the crowd to shut them up. Now, Te Hun, fight me fair and square. I'll teach you that I'm the one who stands above you. As he was roaring with bloodlust, a murderous aura suddenly enveloped them, and the ground began to rumble violently, as if in an earthquake. Shin Yunbok was struck in the head by a piece of rock and knocked out cold on the spot. Only Te Hun remained conscious. He realized the source of that murderous aura was the S+R-rank awakened, Sungjin. He was one of the top awakened from the Korean Awakened Association and was destined to become one of the future SS-rank awakened. Seeing that Te Hun was completely unfazed by his presence, Sungjin gestured with his hand once more, causing the ground beneath Te Hun to collapse. He strained, sweat pouring down his face as he tried to hold on, silently gauging his opponent's strength. To think, this kid can still take it. Even veteran awakeners can't withstand this. The other man was quite intrigued by Te Hun's resilience. The force he unleashed just kept getting stronger. Suddenly, doctors and nurses rushed in to stop him, forcing him to pause. Seeing that everyone was out cold, except for Te Hun, Dungin approached him with interest and asked for his name. Kim Te Hun, the C-rank who just beat Sim Yunbok and Ang. It's been a long time since such an interesting kid showed up, he thought with a smirk, then moved closer to the boy, promising they'd meet again very soon. Te Hun stared blankly at his retreating back, a look of confusion in his eyes. A little while later, everyone had gathered to prepare for the second round. Shunjin instructed them all to pass through the gate before them to be classified into ranks where monsters would appear. Everyone was terrified, breaking out in a cold sweat. Every 5 people who passed through the gate would form a team. You will explore the dimension with a pre-assigned supervisor. Your every action during the exploration will be evaluated. Equipment such as weapons and essential supplies will be fully provided by the association. And now, each person will step through the gate in order. Sunjin explained that this second test was for classification. Even amateur awakeners with no experience shouldn't have any trouble entering a D-rank dungeon. Unless this classification test isn't an apocalypse. The world's first apocalypse was discovered inside a D-rank dungeon, the second test site for the awakeners. Many people were killed, including the awakeners who discovered it. That led to the dungeon break here being impossible to handle. It would have been great if I could have stopped it beforehand. No one would believe my baseless claims. Even if the truth is revealed, I'll just be the only one they suspect. It's a shame, but I'll just focus on my own business. As long as I'm not in the first exploration team, I have plenty of ways to survive, he thought, full of confidence. But who could have known? In the end, Te Hyun was assigned to the group with supervisor Ma Do-hak, the first person to discover the apocalypse in the dual dungeon. Te Hyun was royally screwed in this life. There were countless ferocious beasts in here, but the group dealt with them quickly and efficiently. This earned them high praise from Ma Do-hak. Meanwhile, Te Hyun was still fuming about being assigned to the first team to discover the dungeon. It seems it was all because of the item he was wearing, the Sage's Ring, the very item worn by the person who first discovered the dual dungeon. It was a one-of-a-kind item that increased strength, stamina, speed, and magic power tenfold. The apocalypse in the dual dungeon is definitely S-rank. I won't survive if I get swept up in it. No matter what, I have to do everything I can to prevent the apocalypse from being discovered. Te Hyun schemed silently. In front of everyone were numerous branching paths. Just as Ma Do-hak was about to call for a vote to choose a path, Te Hyun, moving with dangerous speed, bolted in one direction without a second thought for the others behind him. No matter what, he would choose a different path when he regressed. He wasn't stupid enough to let that man choose and discover the apocalypse. He charged ahead without a moment's rest. But man's plans are no match for fate's. A brightly glowing apocalypse was already right in front of him, as if it had been waiting for Tae Hyun all afternoon. And now, the first person to discover the apocalypse was him. This is insane. I'm going crazy. I ran all over the place, so how did I end up back here? He thought in horror. Seeing the others curiously approaching the apocalypse, Tae Hyun shouted for everyone to get back. He wanted Ma Do-hak to report this to the outside, but the reckless man was more interested in going inside to check it out. I know what you're trying to say, Tae Hyun, but I can sense that the magic power inside this gate isn't too dangerous. Besides, this is just a D-rank dungeon. I'm an A-rank awakener, you know. The association has designated this gate as a special case. Being allowed to explore it also means our scores could be much better. Hearing him speak made Tae Hyun feel like he was going crazy too. This was all going against his plans. Ma Do-hak then turned to criticize him for not sticking with the team and only doing as he pleased. The rest of the group also chimed in, ganging up on him and leaving him stunned. Despite his hoarse pleas, the man snapped his fingers and sent them all into the apocalypse. When they opened their eyes, they were bewildered to find that this place was actually a dual dungeon. A vast D-rank dungeon with old, crumbling architecture. The others began to chatter nervously, but Ma Do-hak ordered them all to be quiet and look ahead. Only Tae Hyun understood what was happening. An A-rank magical beast and a death knight had appeared at the same time. Ma Do-hak was stunned speechless, turning to tell everyone to prepare for battle. It was too late. The creatures surged forward, their immense killing intent spraying in all directions. Ma Do-hak's feeble attacks couldn't even harm them. Not even a single hair. Scorching firepower engulfed the area, and everyone split up to coordinate their attacks. Luckily, they managed to take them down. With looks of disbelief on their faces, they gasped for breath, panting heavily. He roared out a challenge, daring them to come at him again if they had the guts. He was just messing around, but to everyone's surprise, they actually came back. Less than a minute later, another group of Death Knights appeared, their aura far more dangerous and violent than before. The entire party froze, speechless. Toon felt that something was very, very strange. Damn it. Every time we kill one monster, several more waves rush in, and everyone is already exhausted. If this keeps up, we're all going to be killed. Ma Do-hak was panicking, but Tae-eun, in contrast, calmly stepped forward, remarking that this place was too strange. He was a bit surprised to see Toon's expression was as calm as if nothing was happening. The kid had fought so much, yet he showed no signs of fatigue, even though this dual dungeon was clearly extremely dangerous. If Tae-eun's abilities hadn't been enhanced by the Heart of the Monarch skill, he never would have lasted this long. Is he really just a C-rank awakened player? He wondered, silently sizing him up. This is just a guess, but I don't think those are ordinary Death Knights. I'm going to check it out now, to be sure of what kind of monster we're up against. As soon as he said that, Toon turned and charged straight toward them, blade in hand. A chaotic battle erupted. He skillfully dodged their fierce attacks, then drove his blade straight into the leader, who had been standing motionless like a statue this whole time. With that, the illusion gradually vanished. This place was a trap, using an illusory space and enemies as a strategy to wear down intruders' strength. Hearing Toon's explanation, the rest of the group was horrified. If mere illusions gave them this much trouble, how terrifying would the real thing be? When Ma Do-hak pressed him on how he knew it was an illusion, Toon admitted he wasn't sure himself. But one thing's for sure. The real monsters here won't be easy to defeat. We need to get moving before we're all killed. He turned and walked away, not noticing Ma Do-hak's stunned gaze. The illusion was gone, but their situation hadn't improved one bit. Following the appearance of the dual dungeon, the dungeon's entire space had changed. The wounds from the battle with the illusory monsters were getting worse. They couldn't just sit around and wait for a rescue team. Their last remaining hope was to find the dungeon's exit gate. After a desperate search, they finally found a closed door that looked rather dangerous. But what could be more dangerous than dying here? They might as well risk it all. The door opened, revealing a horde of Death Knights waiting for them, surrounded by countless piles of skulls. It was a sight that made them want to cry, but no tears would come. Torches flared to life, illuminating the entire chamber, the lair of this whole legion. High above sat the Death Knight Lord, the master of the Apocalypse Dungeon, letting out a screeching laugh and threatening to finish off Tae-eun's entire group. As one, the knights drew their swords and aimed their sharp points at the party. It seemed they wanted to face each member of the party one-on-one. A few of them started screaming in despair. Their strength was gone, their energy depleted. How the hell were they supposed to fight them one-on-one? Everyone, Calm down, our goal is to escape, so fighting one-on-one is pointless, Toon shouted. Paralyzed by fear, 3 members of the group tried to turn and run for the exit, but in a flash, they were cut down by the knight's swords. Blood splattered through the air. Toon's eyes widened in horror. He immediately told Supervisor Ma Du-hak to find a way out while he bought them some time. Unexpectedly, not only did the man ignore him, but he pushed Toon back and channeled his own power, stepping forward himself. I have always wanted to become an S-rank, awakened. But no matter how much I desired it, or how hard I trained, I could never reach that goal. That goal grew more and more distant, seemingly impossible to grasp. This is my chance. If I can just defeat the boss of this dual dungeon, I will finally be recognized as an S-rank awakened. Whatever the outcome, it will be decided here today. With that, Ma Du-hak charged forward, sweating as he clashed directly with the boss. As he fought, he told Toon to run before it was too late. I'll hold them off here. Don't worry about me. I won't die so easily in a place like this. This is the role of a supervisor like me. Ma Du-hak, his eyes wide with strain, unleashed all the power he had left. Terrified, Toon looked around blankly, seeing how severe everyone's injuries were. While he was stunned, an earth-shattering explosion rang out, forcing him to turn back around. Before Toon's eyes was the horrifying sight of Ma Du-hak, crushed beneath the blades of the knights. It was a miserable scene. His entire body was covered in blood, his back burning with a malevolent aura that Toon couldn't bear to look at for long. Everyone else had been finished off, except for him. The boss pulled its blood-soaked sword from Ma Du-hak's body, pointed it directly at Toon, and said, "I challenge you." In the terrifyingly silent atmosphere, Taeun broke out in a cold sweat, not daring to breathe too loudly. Suddenly, he spotted the ring of Overseer Maha-hak on the ground. Just as the other guy's sword was about to strike, Ten managed to make a run for it. I need to wear this to gain more power. Hopefully, it's enough to reawaken my predation skill. There's no other choice right now. This is no time to think. Please, activate. Sage's ring, he begged as he slipped the ring onto his finger. Whoosh! A surge of energy erupted from the ring, sending the knights reeling. Its power inflicted fatal injuries, and they dropped like flies as fiery energy exploded outwards. The Sage's ring has been activated. All stats have been increased by 10. Toon's predation skill has also been activated. The power was immense, surging uncontrollably, as if nothing could hold it back. Toon dodged and controlled the power, as fresh blood from the soldiers sprayed everywhere. The time required to fully activate the predation skill is approximately 10 seconds. I'm confident that with the skills I've had up until now, I can definitely defeat them. With the experience I've gained from past battles, I know I can survive this confrontation. Muttering to himself, Toon unleashed his full combat power to take them on solo. After a fiery battle, a sword of pure energy flew down from above, narrowly missing him. Toon had finished off all the small fry. Now, it was time for him to face the incredibly dangerous final boss. While he was still disoriented, countless blades rained down on Toon's head like a storm. Startled, he desperately ran and dodged. Fresh blood streamed down his face, but the boss refused to let up. It cast a spell, pulling him closer, its killing intent flaring as if it wanted to crush him on the spot. Boom! After the thick black smoke cleared, Taeun, covered in blood, was pinned under his heel. I want to ask you one last thing before I finish you. Where did you get that power? He asked, grinding his foot on Toon's head, causing him to scream in agony. Because Toon resisted a portion of the boss's pressure with a mysterious power, the system slightly reduced the oppressive force on him. You're certainly different from other ordinary awakened beings. But, do you really think you can stop the pressure I'm putting on you? I'll ask again, where did that power of yours come from? He demanded relentlessly. The brain-splitting pain sent Toon into a daze. In his delirium, visions of those who had died for him flashed before his eyes. Everything I have still isn't enough to beat him. What should I do? Who is the true master of the power that gave me the king's predation skill? Why is it that after getting this power, I can understand the language of monsters? Is this power I've obtained just a coincidence, or is it part of some design that I'm not yet aware of? Everything is still shrouded in darkness. Why? As he was lost in confusion, a deep, warm voice echoed in his ear. A brilliant light appeared before Tun, and a man's voice told him that it was all because of his will and perseverance. Those things are what make you strong. You don't need to think or change anything. You just need to seize the royal power that I have bestowed upon you. As these words faded, Tun returned to the present world. The arrogant boss, seeing him remain silent, assumed he was afraid and immediately raised his hand to finish him off. But unexpectedly, at that very moment, an indescribably powerful energy erupted from Toon's entire body, leaving the boss gaping in shock. The magical energy inside Tun soared higher and higher. The furious boss charged forward, but tough luck for him. Tun was back, and stronger than ever. With one hand, he blocked the attack, and with the other, he channeled his power to send the boss flying dozens of meters away. The boss couldn't believe a mere human like Tun could be this strong. It let out a deafening, ear-splitting shriek. He didn't bother with words. With just a gentle twist of his hand, that limitless power obliterated the boss, turning it to dust. This power of Tun's wasn't just some ordinary power. It was the power of the king. The battle ended with Tun's new skill, Knight's Fighting Will. Outside, a large crowd of reporters had gathered in front of the dungeon gate, buzzing about the terrifying level of power emanating from it. Damn it. An S-rank magical reaction suddenly appearing in a C-rank dungeon? At this rate, everyone's going to die. I guess I'll have to go in there and check it out myself, Sung-du thought, breaking into a cold sweat. Just then, the dungeon gate suddenly opened. Covered in blood, Tun walked out from within like a god before countless terrified eyes. That was a close one. Almost didn't make it back, he said with a smirk. Thanks to Taeyun's efforts, the dual dungeon incident was resolved. All the trainees escaped the danger safely. The results of the second entrance exam will be determined based on the scores before the evacuation. The bodies of the victims have been recovered and returned to their families. The higher-ups also decided not to reveal the identity of the person who cleared the dual dungeon, fearing Taeun would become a target for the media and other hunters. Sung Jin and Tun understood the chairman did it out of goodwill. What do you two think? What level has Taeun reached now? The chairman asked, with a slight smile. If Sung Jin felt he could handle an S-rank dungeon on his own, his skills and strength must be at least that of an S-rank player. But Taeun felt his actual rank was much lower, making it difficult to gauge his true power. This meant there was a high probability he would reach the level of a national-level power. The chairman spoke. At that moment, Taeun was having a very strange dream. He found himself lost in a place teeming with monsters, a deeply gloomy abyss. In the distance was the silhouette of a king, reaching out to eradicate the beasts, restoring beauty to the land and sky. After saying, "I will be waiting at the deepest bottom of the abyss," the king gradually vanished into a stream of light, leaving a bewildered Taeun behind. He jolted awake from the dream, his entire body drenched in sweat, his breathing rapid and heavy. Was it a dream? No, it felt far more real than that. What on earth did he mean? A predator that even S-rank monsters were wary of. And the ability to understand what the monsters were saying. So many questions swirled in his head. I guess the only way is to get stronger and enter the abyss, right? Taeun told himself. He had now reached B rank. With these stats, he was already comparable to an S-rank player. That monarch's pressure. That must have been the powerful skill that overwhelmed me back then. At this rate of growth, I'll reach national-level power in no time, he thought to himself, brimming with confidence. Suddenly, he heard a commotion outside the door. The familiar tone of voice made Taeun break into a cold sweat. The door opened, and who else could it be but Aeon? She quickly pulled him into her car and drove him to their destination. Although she used the excuse of wanting to visit him, she was actually there to tell him about the third awakened being selection test. The third test was a survival test, just like the first one. But unlike the first test, everyone on the outside could watch from the stands. At that point, your skills will be exposed, and all the guilds will start coveting you. A low-rank awakened being who can defeat even an S-rank. So, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse beforehand. Money or fame, I'll give you anything you want. Join the Nightwalkers. Ion extended a hand toward Taeun, her eyes filled with hope. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife, but it was quickly shattered by Taeun's two words, "I don't want to." Seeing Aeon's bewildered expression, Taeun got out of the car and walked straight away, ignoring her attempts to promise him everything he could ever want. Don't get me wrong, there's no special reason. Is it another guild, or the conditions? Is Nightwalkers any different? I just don't like it, so I'm not joining. Simple as that. If that's all, I'm leaving. Taeun smirked, then turned his back and continued walking. But just as he got a few steps away, Ion came up from behind and covered his mouth, her eyes glaring with killing intent as she asked, "Just who are you? A fledgling awakened being is actually refusing one of the four great guilds? Is there really no reason? I just can't believe it. But I'll forgive you. In fact, I'm quite pleased with you." While toying with Taeun, Aeon, who was seething with killing intent, suddenly froze when he mentioned her younger sister, Ram. "I know everything. Even the name that was stolen from you." Taeun threatened with a half smirk, making Ion tremble. A burst of dark energy flared up and surged forward. Aeon's real name was Lim Ram. Lim Chang Wu, the chairman of the Yusung Corporation, had initially raised her to be the family's heir. But after his other daughter was born, the name Lim A. Ram was taken from her, and from that day on, Aeon became an outsider, later changing her name and becoming an awakened being. Very few people knew this truth. Having her deepest secret exposed by Tune, she became absolutely furious. With eyes burning with hatred, she grabbed him by the neck, but he quickly fought back with his own mysterious power. The overwhelming pressure bore down on Aeon, making her unable to withstand it. She trembled and stepped back. Tune cornered her against the wall in a cabinet-like pose and said, "Don't cross the line, sis. Ram." The third test for the awakened beings took place in a venue resembling an ancient Roman Colosseum. Unlike the previous two tests, this one was held publicly. As a result, a huge crowd had gathered early to watch it live. Aeon was also there, disguised as a normal person, blending into the crowd to watch the match. Tune's aunt and uncle, Du Jiang's parents, were a little worried about him, but Du Jiang, who was both his cousin and the president of his fan club, was brimming with confidence, certain he would wipe everyone out in a single blow. Reporter Kim was also present, telling herself she absolutely had to write a proper article this time. Her last interview with him had been cancelled because Tun was just a low-rank awakened being. If she couldn't find someone to interview this time, she was going to get fired. As she was sobbing quietly, Reporter Kim suddenly felt a strange atmosphere in the arena. High-rank awakened beings, veterans, and even the most promising candidates in this test were all staring intently at one person, Tun. Don't tell me they're all aiming to take that one person down? Just how strong must their opponent be? She wondered briefly. The test officially began, and all the contestants turned their hate-filled gazes toward Tun. He, however, maintained an unprecedentedly calm and cool demeanor. The battle unfolded with fierce intensity, featuring one spectacular, powerful blow after another. Everyone was targeting Tun, wanting to eliminate him first, but unexpectedly, Te Hun took them all on by himself with his ferocious killing intent. In the blink of an eye, they were sent flying like rag dolls, left scattered on the ground. Suddenly, clumps of tree roots shot up from below, wrapping tightly around his body. This attack came from the slant-eyed, all-green guy who was now laughing mockingly, challenging him. A challenge? Te Hun would deal with every single one of them. He quickly broke free from the roots and sent the guy face-planting with a single kick. Te Hun let them come at him one by one, calmly and collectedly wiping them all out with the fighting spirit of a true knight. His blazing killing intent, like a raging fire, was so intense it even made the audience members below feel nauseous. Everyone thought he was indescribably insane. After the dust settled from the chaotic battle, Te Hun let out a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, among the defeated, one girl remained standing, Lim A. Jiang. When Te Hun brought up the kiss they shared before, her face turned beet red with embarrassment, and her rage erupted into a roaring prison of ice. A Jiang pointed her scepter at Te Hun, angrily declaring that she wouldn't let that happen again this time. A moment later, just as Te Hun had predicted, she was once again defeated at his feet. The outcome was the same, but she truly was a tough opponent, that Lim A. Jiang, and so, the third test came to a satisfying conclusion, with the victory, of course, belonging to him. The chairman personally summoned him to a room to present his reward. "Congratulations, Te Hun, on becoming an S-rank awakened. I honestly never thought the third test would end so simply. It's truly no wonder you were able to conquer the double apocalypse dungeon before." He had high praise for Te Hun. "Mr. Te Hun, after this test, do you have any plans to join the Korean Awakened Association? What do you think about enlisting in our organization of awakened beings?" His words left Te Hun utterly stunned. So many things had changed. "Even though I've accomplished a lot in this Awakened Association's test, to be honest, I'm still not strong enough to be considered a high-level player. But they're inviting me to join the association as an official member. If I were to join the organization, I would have many opportunities for growth and receive a great deal of support from the association. But joining the association would also place many restrictions on my activities." In the end, Te Hun respectfully declined the chairman's offer. The chairman, in shock, slammed his hand on the table, unable to believe he had been rejected so bluntly. Actually, the reason is quite simple. Instead of joining an association or some organization, even with the help from such powerful backers, my own actions would be severely restricted. Therefore, I believe it would be better for me to operate as a solo player, Te Hun replied while sipping his tea. After hearing him say that, the chairman suddenly burst out laughing. He found the young man very confident. "Well then, I have another proposal. Instead of joining the association, would you be willing to be a member participating in the tournament for Asia's Top Awakened?" he offered. At the Asian Friendship Games, Tae Hun would once again shake the world. Each country has 5 representatives selected from associations or guilds in Asia who compete by hunting demons and monsters. But to be chosen as a national representative, a player needs to have hunted a certain number of monsters and have contributed to the country. You need to have something called contribution value. That's easier said than done. I've only just become a player. If I want to catch up to the contribution value that others have accumulated over many years, I'll have to hunt stronger demons or monsters. However, considering the dungeons that will be announced in Korea within the next month, even if I cleared every single one of them, I still wouldn't have enough contribution value, and I can't level up that quickly either. As I thought. Even if it's dangerous, that's the only place left to go. Tae Hun strode straight into the dungeon before him. In a certain castle, the chairman of the Taeson Corporation was lashing out at his servants because his successor to Taeson was lying in a hospital, while the one responsible for it was running around freely. Just then, a guest from the Vicious Association came to see him. He was already furious, and now had to entertain a guest, so he cursed in frustration, when suddenly, a faint demonic aura crept through the room. Sadhu, the vice leader of the Vicious Association, had entered, his eyes filled with malice as he told the chairman to calm himself. At that moment, as Tae Hun was stepping out of a dungeon, he saw that someone was already waiting for him at the entrance. I will guide player Tae Hun to the auction house. I am Pagan Wong, an A-rank player of Alchemist. It's a great honor to meet you, he said, trembling all over, and even added that he was a fan of Tae Hun. That really left him speechless. This is the largest auction house in Asia, Esport. It boasts the grandest scale in Asia and the most valuable items up for auction. It also provides on-the-spot translation services. Esport has many advantages, but the best part about it is, of course, its security. When members of the association participate in the auction, it is our responsibility to escort them to the venue, just as I am for you. Because White Point constantly changes its location, you can't get here without permission. Perhaps that's why there hasn't been a single security breach in decades. Gan Yuang rambled on, explaining to Tae Hun that this place was considered the most secure location in the world. However, today, this place will suffer an attack from an S-rank demon, he thought to himself. At that moment in the auction hall, the MC was introducing the Phoenix Potion. Tae Hun was still waiting for the S-rank demon's attack, planning to reap the contribution points. The only problem was the lack of information. The news before his regression only stated that XP had suffered devastating losses. The attacker was an S-rank demon named Narendra Nehru, so who on earth managed to subdue it? Tae Hun pondered this, then called Gan Wong over to ask who was in charge of overall security today. Before he could even answer, the demon Ryo Isaka, an S-rank player from Japan, swaggered towards Tae Hun with his entourage. He's the one in charge of overall security here, but you have to be careful. He's the type to kill his own comrades for personal gain. Among players, he's known as the Demon. Gan Yuang whispered in Tae Hun's ear. Isaka extended his hand to greet him, but the moment Tae Hun grasped his left hand, a jolt of electricity shot through his body. Seeing this, the man roared with triumphant laughter, enraging Tae Hun. The electric current made everyone else nearby breathless and weak. Damn it, if I fight him here, innocent people will get hurt, Tae Hun thought, breaking into a cold sweat. Suddenly, Isaka let go of his hand. Then he pulled Tae Hun into a hug and whispered in his ear, "You get it, right? Just because we're both S-rank doesn't mean we're on the same level. I don't know what you're doing here, but stop your pointless meddling, be a good boy, and get lost." With that, a satisfied Isaka turned and walked away, leaving Tae Hun speechless with rage. Meanwhile, 2 other groups of Awakeners had accidentally come face to face. They met at an intersection near the portal management office. The bald guy's group looked particularly bloodthirsty. He brandished his blade, ready to take care of the rival group. Elsewhere, in a dark cave, Narendra Nehru was performing a dark ritual. This mysterious S-rank awakener was using his necromancy to control his ferocious beast. Countless bodies lay scattered at his feet, and the foul stench of death hung heavy in the air. "Sir, the situation has become a bit complicated. An unexpected person has appeared at the auction house. Korea's rising S-rank player, Tae Hun, is present at the auction. We didn't account for this. What should be our next move?" His minions ran up to him, asking frantically, but Nehru remained supremely confident. He felt the boy was nothing but an insect. If Tae Hun faced him, he wouldn't even be in the same league. "No one can escape the punishment of God," Nehru declared menacingly. At that moment, in a high-rise building by the sea, a terrifying explosion erupted. The blast caused severe casualties among everyone at the conference. Gan Wong screamed in terror, yelling that the situation had become extremely complicated. They had to evacuate the auction house quickly and get to safety. Te Hun hadn't expected the attack to begin so soon. Explosions were going off everywhere in the auction house, but this seemed to be just a terrorist attack. The S-rank demon, the main culprit, and my true target still hasn't appeared. Te Hun witnessed the violent explosion before him, his mind racing, as countless screams filled the air, creating a scene of utter chaos. The sound of gunfire from the terrorists rang out through the thick smoke and dust. They began shouting their orders. Everybody stay still, put all your valuables on the ground, now. Any bastard who resists will die. But before he could even finish his sentence, his head flew from his shoulders, sent away by a bloody slash from Te Hun. He called out to Gan Wong, "The situation here is dangerous. Go report to the Awakeners Association and have them send reinforcements immediately. As for me, I'll handle things here myself," he said confidently, the murderous aura from the bloodlust blade in his hand surging violently. Over on the other side, a group of violent Awakeners was using force to steal the auction items for themselves. A fierce and bloody battle broke out. After taking out all the security guards, they successfully got their hands on the unique grade treasure, the Blood Phoenix. This was the very item Lord Naru wanted from the auction. Looking at its effects, they were truly terrifying. For high-level Awakeners, increasing their strength is nearly impossible. But just by using this, they could boost their power to a whole new level. Now, all we have to do is go back and deliver this item. The leader rejoiced inwardly. But they celebrated too soon. A deafening explosion suddenly ripped through the air. It sent them all flying dozens of meters back. A mysterious person had ambushed them, and what's more, they possessed a stealth skill. This caught them completely off guard. The group was taken down one by that ferocious, murderous aura, falling like flies. The cunning leader used light chains to restrain Te Hun, inwardly celebrating, thinking he had finally gotten him. But how foolish. With a single flick of his wrist, he shattered the chains, his eyes gleaming with sinister energy as he let out a dark chuckle. He looked over at them. At the management office, by the auction house's portal gate, everyone was being restrained by the monsters, their hands and feet bound tightly. The MU master was extremely pleased that everything was going more smoothly than he'd imagined. The summoning of that being will proceed without a hitch. Now, I just need to get my hands on the Phoenix blood, and it'll all be complete. Before he could finish, a subordinate burst in. He reported that the Dai Ki group had found the Phoenix blood, but they were currently facing some trouble. From the other end of the line, Taeun's powerful voice spoke, introducing himself as the one who had taken the Phoenix blood from the Dai Ki group. "If you want it back, then come and face me now. I'll be waiting for you here." That rotten S-rank bastard? Hearing this, Naru was so furious he could spit blood, his eyes filled with killing intent as he vowed to deal with Tun. At the auction house, dead bodies were scattered everywhere. Kim Te Hun chugged the bottle of Phoenix blood. Looking at the bottle of Phoenix blood in his hand, Kim Te Hun felt power surging through him. "All right, my stamina has increased by 1 point, and my magic has increased by 1 point. Looking at the concoction shimmering with a brilliant light, he thought that Phoenix blood really was something else. Its effects were truly unparalleled. Back in the dungeon, even after I equipped the Supreme Ring, my stats didn't increase this much. Kim Te Hun smiled with a satisfied look on his face. Now that I've finished this bottle of Phoenix blood, that bastard won't find anything to steal here. The sound of someone's footsteps approached. It was Rio, with an expressionless face, and his subordinates. Seeing the scene filled with bodies strewn about, one of them stepped forward to check. Is no one left alive? Another man, with beads of sweat on his face, said, a call was made from here to the security team's hotline earlier. How did it end up like this down here? The culprit who did this has already escaped. A cunning laugh echoed. What are you talking about? Weren't you paying any attention at all? All the subordinates exclaimed. What do you mean, sir? A dark, scheming expression appeared on his face, along with a wicked smile. He said softly, the person responsible for all of this is standing right in front of us. His voice echoed through the dark cellar. Hey, I already know you're in here. Show yourself, Kim Te Hun. A pair of legs glowing with a purple light appeared. Kim Te Hun appeared, his body surrounded by a purple aura. I was sure I used my stealth skill. How did you manage to detect me? The two stood facing each other. Rio spoke with an arrogant tone. Stop beating around the bush. A newly promoted S-rank like you. What are you doing skulking around in here? You're the one who caused this whole mess, aren't you? Taehyun replied defiantly. What in the world are you talking about? You're the head of security at this Hungdong auction house. Why are you asking me? Terrorists invaded this place, attacked the auction goers, and slaughtered them. Where were you while all that was happening? Huh? Rio smirked cunningly. Of course, I had my reasons. Not that you'd need to understand them. Tae-Hyun's eyes narrowed at him. I see. No wonder I felt something was off, especially with so many high-level security guards here. Tae-Hyun reached into his pocket to pull something out. Every single nook and cranny was guarded. Before the terrorists even attacked this place, numerous bombs had already detonated all over the auction hall. I deduced that for all those bombs to be planted, it had to be an inside job, and it was just as I thought. The bombs went off at the exact moment the terrorists attacked. A glowing sword hilt slowly emerged from Tae-Hyun's pocket. What a perfect coincidence. You really know what you're doing. As expected of a veteran S rank, a spy working with them who also happens to be the head of security, no one would have ever thought of that. Rio bowed his head with a sinister laugh. He opened his mouth to speak, his entire body emitting a golden glow. You seem pretty smart, but you have your foolish moments. Don't you remember? I told you before to be smart and stay out of my way. With that, he vanished, leaving only streaks of golden light behind. Kim Te Hun gripped his sword, his face set in a defensive stance. He suddenly reappeared with a blade in hand, but Tae Hun was prepared and managed to block his attack. Hand over the item you took, now. His face twisted into a vicious expression. Tae Hun smirked as he parried the blow. Funny. If you're good enough, then take me down and get it back yourself. The two clashed fiercely, creating blinding flashes of golden light. Afterward, only two white blurs could be seen, clashing with even more intense red sparks. Small stones rained down as a box was split in two. The subordinates shouted, "This is bad. We need to fall back, now. We can't possibly interfere in a fight between two S ranks. Besides, everyone knows about Sir Rio's infamous reputation. If we're not careful and stay here, we could lose our lives in an instant. He's even killed his own comrades, who went through life and death with him." Tae-Hyun used his skills to attack. A sliver of doubt crossed Tae-Hyun's mind. This guy's fighting style is a little different from what I know. His method of attacking and countering seems quite unique. I rely on my instincts and the flow of the battle to make a move, but he relies on prediction and the sound of movement to react. This guy is no pushover. He can perceive my movements and then predict the appropriate counterattack. A flash of yellow light shot past, and Tae-Hyun was caught off guard, unable to defend in time. Rio. He suddenly unleashed a blow that sent Tae-Hyun flying. He clutched his injured arm and coughed up a mouthful of blood. He figured that even though they were both S-class with similar movement skills, their actual combat prowess was worlds apart. But regardless, Tae-Hyun suddenly leaped into the air. The surprised minions exclaimed, "Huh? Up there." Tae-Hyun's hand reached out like a demon from hell. He didn't even need to use predation for this. The minions were sucked upwards with tragic screams, his demonic hand controlling them and crushing them with unbelievable power amidst their agonizing cries. Tae-Hyun spoke, asking, "Where is the demon sword, Isaka Rio?" A sinister laugh echoed once more. "You've got some good combat skills, kid. You're good at hiding. But in terrain with this many obstacles, I can find you by sound alone." Rio was on the ceiling. "And now, you've revealed yourself to me. To repay you for what you did before, try and block this." My demon sword's heart-piercing slash, coming straight down on Rio brandished his sword, his eyes bloodshot with rage. Tae-Hyun struggled to defend himself. Two masked men were standing guard on the floor below. They immediately fled when they saw Rio's punch send Tae-Hyun crashing through the floor they were guarding. A blast of light pierced through several basement levels, sending debris flying everywhere. Rio stomped on his chest, pointing his sword at Tae-Hyun. Suddenly, he panicked. What? What is this? How did you lock my demon sword?" Tae-Hyun smirked as chains of light appeared in his hands, binding the sword. He grinned. "It's true that even among S-class players, the difference in skill level is massive, you idiot." Rio's face was a mask of disbelief. That bastard. Down below, after attacking those small fry outside, he revealed himself. He didn't do it to escape. He deliberately appeared to lure me into attacking him. He had already prepared this chains of light skill back then. After I attacked, he locked down all my movements, making it impossible for me to escape. Tae-Hyun's fist, wrapped in chains of light, swung forward. "Where are you going to run now?" The chains shot straight towards Rio. "You bastard, how could you do this to me?" he screamed in disbelief. The light chain fist flew forward, smashing directly into Rio's face. The punch distorted his face, and blood sprayed from his mouth. The multiple floors had been blasted into a single, terrifyingly dark hole. Inside the ruined auction house, Isaka Rio and his minions were bound by the chains of light, kneeling shamefully before Kim Te Hun, with their heads bowed. The glowing chains of light bound the minions tightly, their faces drained of all strength. Enraged and in disbelief, they struggled against the tight chains, refusing to accept defeat. But it was all futile. Isaka Ryo knelt there, bound by the chains, his spirit unyielding. A fierce and resentful look appeared on his face. Ryo sneered, gritting his teeth in hatred. Standing before him was Kim Te Hun, smiling triumphantly. Ryo, still on the ground, roared with hatred. "You bastard, Kim Te Hun!" Kim Te Hun stood there and looked him straight in the eye, a scornful smile on his face. "I can't believe a high-ranking S-class player from Japan would become an accomplice to a bunch of thieves." Unable to bear the humiliation, Ryo's face twisted with fury. He struggled to get up, roaring, "You bastard! It's because of you that this plan failed." A foot slammed directly into Ryo's face. The impact made him gasp in pain. After the powerful kick, Ryo was sent flying. Kim Te Hun's voice rang out, "You talk too much. Just accept your failure." Te Hun was stunned to see his opponent's loyal minions still worrying about Isaka Ryo. They stared in the direction he had been flung, their faces filled with panic and terror. They looked towards Isaka Ryo and screamed with concern, "Lord Isaka Ryo, are you all right?" Te Hun's eyes widened as he glared at them. "If you know what's good for you, tell me where your leader, that bastard Narendra Nehru, is." Isaka Ryo lay in agony amidst the rubble, his eyes squeezed shut. Kim Te Hun's voice echoed in his ears, "If you talk, you'll get a lighter sentence. If not, that's fine too. The guilds have already been alerted. They'll be at this auction house soon enough. Of course, when the major awakened guilds get here, both you and your leader, Narendra Nehru, will be dead either way." Lying in the wreckage, Isaka Ryo opened his mouth and let out a mocking smirk. "You say they're coming to help? You're so naive. A complete rookie." Kim Te Hun's eyes went wide and his jaw dropped in shock. "What did you say?" Hurried footsteps echoed down the hallway, and the base door was thrown open. Everyone at work stopped, staring in astonishment at the door that had just been opened. A portly man with round glasses and long, graying hair and a beard rushed into the command room, where electronic monitors were flashing. Beads of sweat dotted his face as he yelled, his voice ragged and breathless from running so fast. "The support teams. Why haven't we seen any support teams at the Dawn auction house yet?" This man is the 4th-ranked guild member, the S-rank alchemist guildmaster, Seo Sang-ik. Seo Sang-ik looked at the two men before him, one young and one old, as he analyzed the current situation. "Don't you realize there are countless rare items at that auction house? Not to mention the many VIP clients from both Korea and other countries attending. If the awakened guilds don't send support quickly, the auction house won't be able to hold out against these robbers." The older man, wearing an eye patch over one eye, with a goatee and neatly slicked back hair, remained calm. "Relax, sir. Just calm down for a moment. We are already aware of all that." The moment the terrorist attack began, a warning was sent out to all the guilds. The guilds have already prepared their reinforcement forces. The one leading the support guilds is the player Park Sung-jin. He's accompanied by powerful S-rank awakened beings. In his mind, an image formed of the mighty reinforcement troops led by the formidable Park Sung-jin. Seo Sang-ik was stunned, a single bead of sweat rolling down his forehead in shock. Then why haven't they departed to reinforce the auction house yet? If there are any issues, they can contact us, and we will provide them with our full support. That's not the problem. We've considered everything else, but the single most crucial issue has yet to be resolved. And that is, there is no way to get to the auction house. He slammed his hand down on the table. His eyes blazed with fury. Seo Sang-ik grew even more frantic, more sweat dripping from his brow. "What did you say?" The man with his long hair tied back neatly answered him. "Those bastards. They were prepared for this. When they attacked the auction house, they immediately went for the teleportation gate control room. Now, they have complete control over all the gates. As a result, every single one of them has been locked down." This time, Seo Sang-ik couldn't believe it. "The gates are locked? That's right, but you don't need to worry too much," he replied with a calm, matter-of-fact tone. "Luckily, we still have 2 S-rank players at the auction house, Isaka Ryohei and Kim Te Hun." An image of Isaka Ryohei's evil face flashed through his mind, his sword radiating a blinding light. The newly promoted S-rank player Kim Te Hun may be new, but he's already incredibly strong. On the robbers' side, their leader, Narendra Nehru, is the only S-rank among them. Kim Te Hun appeared in his thoughts, with amber eyes, a smirking mouth, and a red aura surrounding him. He was extremely confident. "All that's left is for us to wait until our side creates a new gate connecting to the auction house. But I think by that time, the 2 S-rank players over there will have managed the situation and bought us plenty of time." All we need to do now is wait for the technicians to fix the gate problem. But the opponent those two players are facing, that bastard, Narendra Nehru, he's no ordinary foe. As those words were spoken, a pair of black high heels, everyone looked in shock towards the door, where the speaker had just appeared. Player Yu Ah Young, what are you doing here? The girl with the stylish short hair and a cold expression, dressed in a black suit, appeared before them. The scene shifts to the Dawn auction house, where Isaka Ryohei and his underlings are bound by light chains, with Isaka kneeling before Kim Te Hun. Isaka Ryohei looked up, a mocking smirk on his face. There's something you haven't thought of, Narendra Nehru. He isn't simple. With his pact with the devil skill, you're going to die very quickly. Kim Te Hun asked, confused. Pact with the devil skill? Isaka replied, his face still twisted in that same smug, mocking expression. Just as the name implies, he can communicate with and summon demonic beings from the demon world. Depending on the number of sacrifices, he can summon demons of different levels. So, do you really think you can defeat him? Not when he has such a high-level support skill. Isaka's mind conjured images of terrifying and powerful demonic beings. Kim Te Hun was a bit surprised and asked in disbelief, are you saying he's going to offer sacrifices to the demon world? Isaka let out a sinister laugh, his face dark. That's right. And what the demon world desires most are souls. And the sacrifices you're wondering about are human beings. The scene shifts back to the guild office, where Yu Ah Young had just said the same thing. Everyone was frozen, unable to believe what they had just heard from Yu Ah Young. Even the man with the goatee was stunned. What? What did you just say? The other two also hurriedly asked for clarification. Then the number of hostages and low-level players at the auction house. It's massive. Those are the very souls he can sacrifice to the demon world to summon a high-level demon. On top of that, he himself is an S-rank player. His subordinates are also numerous high-level, skilled mercenary, awakened beings. At this point, So Sang-ik could no longer remain calm. He screamed in terror. This is bad. He's going to capture all the hostages there and sacrifice them. We need to act fast. This is something we never considered. Yu Ah Young's turquoise eyes grew even darker as she spoke. That's right. It seems an absolute catastrophe is about to unfold at the Dawn auction house. The scene changes back to the auction house, where Tae Hyun is gripping Isaka Ryohei. He gets up from the ground, raising his fist towards Isaka Ryohei. Taeyun's face is a mask of fury and indignation. You bastard! How could you do this? Are human beings just sacrifices to you? Isaka Ryohei's laugh grows louder, his smile turning wicked. You may have beaten me, Kim Taeyun, but you'll never be able to stop Narendra Nehru's plan. The outcome is already decided. You should just give up. In fact, if you untie me right now and get on your knees to beg for forgiveness, I might just take you on as my underling. Kim Taeyun's expression darkens even further. Isaka Ryohei laughs even harder. But if you choose to fight against Narendra Nehru, the only thing you'll get is your soul being annihilated as a sacrifice to the demon world. His laughter echoes. Kim Taeyun slams him against the wall, raising his fist high. A crimson sun hangs over the Dawn auction house. Waves crash against the shore, turning the water white. Inside, thousands of hostages are kneeling on the ground. Above them, terrifying demonic creatures stare down at the captives. High above, a figure looks down upon the hostages. A subordinate reports to a man with dark, blood-red eyes and a long beard. Lord Narendra Nehru, it seems Isaka Ryohei has failed. The masked subordinate continues his report. We sent men to find him, but there's no trace of him. The Blood Phoenix has also disappeared along with him. What should we do now, sir? Narendra just chuckles nonchalantly. Forget it. It seems we have a competent S-rank player here, but that little rat can't do anything to us. They're still waiting for reinforcements from the guilds, but the gates are already closed. He stretches out his hand as streams of black light appear. The kneeling hostages below are ensnared by the black aura and lifted high into the air. The remaining people scream in terror and despair at the sight. In the spell's grip, a girl's neck is squeezed as if by an invisible hand. Narendra Nehru controls the streams of black light, torturing the hostages. The captive hostages can only scream in agony, and if that rat doesn't show himself, then we'll just proceed with the plan. Narendra Nehru says, all while controlling the hostages. The black light surrounding them intensifies. Now, the demon world will receive some truly high-quality souls. At this moment, Narendra Nehru looks like a true devil. His black eyes flash with a red glint. His smile is as sinister as a demon's, and he radiates streams of dark, black light. Looking down on him from above, his dark, murderous aura grows more intense. The lights went out. In the darkness, the hostages' fear and panic intensify. The guards in their demon masks become alert. What the hell? Why did the power go out now? We made sure the bombs wouldn't destroy the power plant. It's pitch black. I can't see a thing. And we still need power for the machinery. Narendra Nehru's sinister face appears, his demonic, dark eyes glowing.